Hello and welcome to Gilmore's Glorious Gossip, a show dedicated to Critical Role over on the Geek and Sundry Twitch channel. Welcome to everyone joining us live, and don't worry if you can't stay. As always, we will be posting this on Monday. Eternal thanks to Akuma Mika at EmmaFrost91 over on Twitter for our glorious logo. This week features more amazing artists. The current art is by Mika Virtanen, and I hope I said that correctly, at Candid Arachnid.
Nice.
Yes. Later, you'll be seeing pieces from Elm, at Flyboy_Elm. Iwana Murasan, at Gamer_Artist. And a piece by Marutina, at Glareusy, Glareusy. And a piece by Lynn, at rlin, Lin, arts, Arts. If you'd like to have your art featured here, please let any of the show's hosts know via Twitter, either on our official Twitter handle, at Gilmore_Gossip, or our direct Twitters, and we'll do our best to get it on the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can catch us each and every week. I'm Akiva, found on Twitter at AkivaDavid, and joining me today are my excellent friends and a very special guest. So let's introduce ourselves, and please, tell us what your favorite DM plot hook is to use on level 1 characters.
Hi everybody, Kalia here, otherwise known as at CosmicCandi over on Twitter. That's C-A-N-D-I. Favorite plot hook, I think, for me, has to be the inn or the tavern. At one point or another, any adventurer, especially if you're a murder hoboing type, you're going to find yourself at the tavern. After a long day, you need a drink to wind down, and there's always something that's going to happen to give you that call to adventure. Not only that, but you're not a real adventurer until you take care of rats in the basement of the tavern, and then find the secret door into Undermountain beneath the bar. You know, I mean, it's just the way these things go.
Of course.
Every bar has a secret passage to an Undermountain. It's just the way D&D works.
And rats.
Hi guys. And rats. Gotta have the rats. I'm Castiel Games with a 3 with an E. Or Cat. Kalia definitely took the oldie but the goodie, I suppose you could say, out of my mouth. You haven't played D&D until you started a D&D campaign for one shot. I think that's the oldie but goldie. See, this is a really hard question because plot hooks, they change every single time. It depends on your party. It depends on the kind of game you're going to play. I don't think I've actually had, of all the one-shots I've done, campaigns I've run, the same opening for any of them. It's always been a little bit different, which I think is a good thing. 100%, but I definitely do like the tavern inn.
That's a good point too. I mean, especially if you're new to DMing or less than, say 5 years, you've only run 2 or 3 games by that point. You probably only haven't really had to come up off the top of your head with a moment's notice and had something to fall back on as far as ideas to get your story going.
Yeah. That's good.
And for our special guest, please introduce yourself and let us know your favorite DM plot hook.
Yes, hello, I'm Eilish at EA Downs on Twitter. I am also a fan of the tavern. Everyone's a fan of the tavern. What I did for my party, for my first campaign, it was my first time DMing, I mixed the tavern with a local event. So they found out about this local event called the Sovereign Hunt, where they had to go off into the magical forest and kill off a magical beast to prove their worth. to the king, and they all met each other in the tavern of the local area while this event was going on. So I kind of put in the tavern there, but had a bit of a flavour around it.
I want to play that.
Yeah, they seemed to really enjoy it, and I had a good time kind of introducing it to everyone.
That does sound like a good time. Let's go kill the last unicorn, guys.
Yeah.
It was a griffin, actually.
No, you can't kill griffins. No, those are my favorites. Let's go kill the
pretty
unicorn
bad.
instead. Unicorns are stupid.
Oh my lord.
Oh, for me to go ahead and answer my own question, everything for level 1, everything sort of revolves around the tavern. That is the party's safe haven. And I sort of, I've been DMing for about 20 years. I pull a Matt Colville on them. They go into the tavern to, meet up, get introduced to the world. The BBEG, Big Bad Evil Guy, shows up and burns the town to the ground.
I've had that. Yes.
So
I
a lot
had
of
a
fun.
similar thing. The Big Bad Evil Guy was there at the event. They just didn't know he was the Big Bad Evil Guy. Until,
Yes.
He was there with the king when they were getting banished to the big magical forest.
that'll do it.
What I think I like about that, Akiva, is you've made that safe haven of a starting point and not made it safe anymore. You know what I mean? Like, right off the bat, you've just... you think you're safe having a drink in here? No, you're not.
Think again.
Well, and when we ran that one shot for Desert Winds a while back, it was a combination inn and tavern. And the party came in looking for a room for the evening, and they're like, well, all of the rooms that we're willing to let go have already been rented. And they're like, what do you mean willing to rent out? And by putting that one word in there, they're like, what? And then the innkeep started explaining, oh, well, every time we rent out this room, the people that check it out start disappearing. So then they're like, oh, well, then I guess we better go check that out. And it takes them to the 9 hells. Beautiful.
And my character got a navel piercing from a chain demon.
Yep.
Oh, that sounds like a good time.
Chain devil for the win.
So as Astragali is pointing out in the chat, for my Sweet Suffering game, I didn't start that group off in a tavern. I threw them directly in a prison.
Nice.
Then again, you guys started out at like level 5, 6. So...
Yeah, and that kind of
trade-off.
goes back to it depends on your group.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So, but that will bring us into the pre-show announcements. In case you guys were unaware, Eilish is a fellow DM and has a YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. The link is in the description below. You can check out her YouTube for her DM stories. Really great content.
Thank you. I haven't been as active as I'd like lately, but there will be some new videos coming soon. So,
Yay!
Yeah.
Next up, Crit Roll Stats did an awesome breakdown of Ripley's team from episode 68. That link is also in the link or in the description below. There is a follow-up to it. I have not been able to grab that link yet, but hopefully before Monday I will have that up, and it will be in that description. Now, there's been a lot of trepidation regarding Geek and Sundry's new Alpha program.
Kerfuffle. That's a better word.
Yeah, I think it is. But our favorite DM, Matthew Mercer, as a critter community, our favorite DM.
Bless his soul.
Yes. Clarified on how that will affect Critical Role. Spoiler warning, it won't. And posted it on Reddit, and we have that link also in the description. In the actual title of that Reddit thread, if you click on it, there is the information put out by Geek and Sundry explaining what alpha is, how that interacts. And there is a link, which is also in our description down below, regarding signing up for the early access. The actual effects of the alpha program, Critical Role itself will not change. It will stay on Twitch for the foreseeable future. Matthew Mercer retains complete creative control over the show. The cast retains complete creative control over their characters. The one thing that worries me that wasn't directly addressed was if Geek and Sundry says, we're leaving Twitch, we're only going to Alpha, will Critical Role follow them? I'm thinking yes, simply because there's going to be that fan draw. We need to get our Critical Role fix somewhere. But personally, I'll be disappointed if it does. That's just my take on it. Geek and Sundry did tweet out, and thanks Kalia for grabbing this link for me. It is down in the description as well. Geek and Sundry,
albeit last minute.
Yes. But Geek and Sundry tweeted out that subscribers to their Twitch channel will get 6 months of alpha for free.
And you had to be subscribed prior to the announcement.
Yes.
That is the caveat.
So you can't go sign up for it now, but if you were already subscribed prior to the announcement, you will be getting 6 months of alpha free. Within alpha, as I said, the show itself is not going to change. Alpha is bringing in a new show called Critical Talks, where there's going to be interviews with the cast regarding the show. There will be fan interaction, including questions and answers, and they also said that they would be giving prizes away. So I don't know if you guys think it's worth it. More power to you, go for it. We here at Geek and Sundry, we are going to be taking advantage of the 6 months free. We will see if the Critical Talks...
Gilmore's Glorious Gossip, not Geek and Sundry. We are not Geek and Sundry. We are not endorsed by, nor are
No! I can't believe I said that. Thank you for correcting me. We are not sponsored nor endorsed by Geek and Sundry. They probably do not even realize that we exist. But we here at Gilmore's Glorious Gossip will be taking advantage of the 6 months of free alpha to check out this Critical Talks or Talks Machina. Thanks, John O'Brien, for correcting me on that.
Yeah, Talks Machina.
I don't have this part scripted out, so. Tommy D says they have repeatedly said the GNS Twitch is going nowhere, and they have exciting plans for it. Whether you believe them or not is, of course, up to each reader. As I said, I don't know if Critical Role is going to move or not, because Geek and Sundry, being the sponsoring company or parent company for Critical Role, may say, hey, either put it on alpha only. It really depends. The business world's kind of murky there.
I think what it comes down to is just not panicking and not
Yes.
Yep.
thinking about things that aren't in black and white. I mean, we can sit here and assume and go, oh, well, they might do this and they might do that and it might go this way and that way. But at the end of the day, guys, nothing's changing. We're still going to get our content for free. It's, you know, we all know Matt and the crew. We've been following them for years. They're really great people. They're, you know, dedicated to the fan base. And a lot of the fan base don't have a lot of money. And I think they realize that as well. So
Yes.
I wouldn't stress too much. I don't think it's going to be a terrible outcome, no matter where Geek and Sundry go. Yeah.
So, like I said, we here at Gilmore's Glorious Gossip will be checking out Vox Machina to see if it has good information for us to pass along. We will see during that 6 months how it goes and if it's worth continuing to follow. So, let's hope for the best.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be cool.
See, and now I'm tempted to put that little comic of the dog sitting in a restaurant or
It's fine.
coffee shop.
It's fine.
This is fine.
Everything's on fire, but it's fine.
It's fine here. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
So, in slightly more...
So, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kat. We couldn't hear you there for a
Sorry,
moment.
just make sure you take use of that 6 months.
Yes.
quickly.
Yes. However, in slightly more upbeat and sure-footed news, one fan of Critical Role started a Battle of the Bards. The links to both the Round 1 and the beginning of Round 2 are in the description below. The AMAD boys, Ahmad boys, wrote a song from the perspective of his D&D bard by the name of Chance, and challenged Scanlan Shorthalt to a battle of the bards, and Scanlan responded with a rap.
Yep.
Most of the fan reaction that I've seen have said that Sam won that first round. So Ahmad Boys came back and started round 2 with a rap of his own. I'll let you guys, go into the links to hear the songs for yourselves, but they are hilarious. So, and last but not least, the How Do You Want to Do This hoodies are back in the GNS store. Get them while you can. So comfortable.
Also, the short film.
Oh! I did forget about that.
Not skip this film.
Do not skip this film. I feel so bad right now. I think Chronomancer Maurice was telling me to get some coffee. I need some. But yes, there was an adaptation of the Singorn scene between Percy and Vex that was posted to Critical Scope. That link is also in the description. And it was awesome.
Was
Just beautiful.
Was it my art request?
No.
Okay.
No, this is the scene where they have yet to actually be introduced as Vox Machina to the twins' father.
Okay.
And Vex is all nervous and unsure of herself and is asking Percy for some help and advice and such.
Gotcha. I know where we're at now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really good. You have to watch it, guys. Make sure you do.
Yes.
Because I was kind of concerned. Sometimes fan-made stuff, we love it, but sometimes it can be a bit on the nose a little bit. But this was just professional, perfect. The acting was amazing. It had all of the little moments that you wanted out of it, and I mean the dialogue has changed a little bit as well. I think so that they don't kind of stand up.
Well, it's adapted from a fantasy setting into something a little more real world, but it's still very powerful.
Yes. Yeah.
So that will bring us into the comments from last episode of Gilmore's Glorious Gossip. This week it comes from Kalshaza456 Dresden, who writes, I love that Ripley was so cursedly smart. She did all that, something that ancient dragons and powerful undead had failed to do, by playing to her strengths and their weaknesses. And Ripley completely did that. Set up a very great encounter. One thing that I want to point out, though, is Ripley set that up knowing what her strengths and her weaknesses were. Whereas a dragon, especially an ancient dragon, and the undead are trying to ignore. They tend to not pay attention to their own weaknesses because they're supposed to be super powerful and not have weaknesses.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of villains fall short, and that's why I love having the very human villains, whether they're like human race-wise, but the human villains who acknowledge their flaws and their weaknesses are very hard to fight, and that's what we saw with Ripley.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I have the suspicion that if we actually knew Ripley's story, that she would be a flawed character like Vox Machina, who just made a bad decision.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if we were following Ripley's story, Vox Machina would be the villains.
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? If someone wrote it from Ripley's point of view?
You're going to find that a great many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our point of view. I say it time and time again, but it's true.
It is. Very much is. So that will bring us into this week's episode 69. Keep your laughing to a minimum. We're all mature here.
Just get the giggles out at the start.
I'm laughing more at the mature comment than the number.
Yeah.
I know. I was. Yeah. Comedic timing. So what I found interesting, and something that doesn't often happen at home games, Taliesin wasn't even on the set for the beginning of the game. He was there for the announcements, but while the intro live action thing was being played, he left the set.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love that he did this.
It just added to the atmosphere, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to the
Agreed.
urgency, I think.
My roommate, she doesn't actually watch the show, but I was downstairs watching. She came downstairs, looks at the screen and goes, Taliesin's not there. And I'm like, I have shown too much of this show to you. You suffer with me.
He's kind of dead. I like it because even if you're just sitting there silently, whenever you play D&D live, there's an energy that's in the room. And you can feel it. And I just know that Taliesin is that kind of person that would probably give off. Like, he couldn't help it. He would be sitting there and there would be fidgeting or maybe moving. I don't know. Just removing him from the situation allowed the group to deal with it without kind of maybe listening out for those nuances that he might be giving away. And that made the whole thing so much better.
Reading his body language and everything that him being there would give away.
And especially considering what he had decided with Matt, it's probably a good thing he wasn't there for the party.
Yes.
Because
they would... I guarantee you what they said would have changed had he been sitting there.
Yeah. And I also hit home that he was gone.
Mm.
I don't think a lot of us really realised what they would be like, and we got a taste of it for the first half of this episode.
Yep.
Mm.
Absolutely. Over in the Geek and Sundry chat, everyone was just freaking out. Oh my god, where's Taliesin?
Yeah.
Where is he? Why is he not there? So, I mean, that I think more than anything else really drove home the point that things may not go so well.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too that it does is even if Taliesin decided to play his other character, regardless of what happened for the ritual, his new character is not there, right?
Yeah.
So one way or another, he has to be reintroduced back to the party. So by him stepping out, it serves both purposes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
Do I sound muffled, guys?
You do.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, a little.
It's this new mic, guys. I'm still trying to figure it out, and it doesn't like me.
You may have to play around with your sensitivity settings.
Okay.
So, the party, with Taliesin gone, the party is trying to figure out what their next move is. And Grog really stepped up as group dad this time.
Mm.
Making sure that everybody kept focus. They had things they had to do in order to make sure they got everyone back.
Yeah. And that's a really interesting role for Grog to play, especially considering his kind of feelings towards death are a lot different to the party's. He's very goal-oriented, and so he knew that he had to pursue goals to be able to do anything.
Yes. And, it really makes sense with Grog's background. Being a barbarian, they have to deal with death that way. Because they're constantly moving. They're constantly fighting for survival.
Yeah.
So, Kim, I'm always afraid to say your last name, Kim, so I apologize. But Kim in chat is saying Grog and Scanlan really stepped up. Scanlan did too, to a lesser extent, taking cues from Grog. But he understood as well.
We got to see a bit of Scandad show up, especially once they got into the mansion. That was
that's
good.
Adorable Scandad.
Yes.
I love a good Scandad moment.
I like it. I love that we got to see a bit more emotion from Scanlan this time. I mean, we've seen it in the past, but every time I see through that veil of happy jokingness, I suppose, into the more deeper Scanlan, I love those moments. So,
yes.
Even though it was a sad situation.
Yeah.
And Sam plays a bard very well in that, yeah, he's happy, go lucky, but it's all a facade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We know it's a facade, but we get to see behind it so little that when it comes out, it's very impactful.
Yeah.
So, but Grog and Scanlan get the group into gear recovery mode, searching the bodies and such, getting all the guns that were laying around, getting Ripley's hands, getting the vestiges, collecting what gold they could, and they found a gate scroll in a case that was on Ripley. Now this was interesting in a number of ways. For those that don't know, they did cover it in the episode on what Gate actually does. It's a 9th level spell, opens a gate to usually another plane. Matt said that because of the nature of magic in his world, you could modify it so that it's 2 points in the same plane, which makes sense.
But like he said, why use a 9th level spell to do that when there are 5th level spells that can do that?
Yes. So eventually they decide to save the gate scroll. I think the biggest reason for them wanting to save that was because Scanlan's not able to cast 9th level spells. So there's not a guarantee that he would be able to. But
Yeah, it's quite a powerful find to then risk losing it for nothing.
I'm hoping that eventually, whether it's Gurn coming back or another guest that plays a wizard, eventually I'm hoping that they find someone that will copy the gate spell into their spell book. And really, actually, a better idea would probably be giving it to Gilmore to copy into his spell book.
Assuming Gilmore's a wizard.
He is.
I'm sticking to my guns on sorcerer, but that's my personal headcanon. I just really like the idea of him being a sorcerer.
Well, there's nothing saying that he's not cross-class, but we do know that he has a spell book. And that's something that sorcerers don't have. They cannot use a spell book.
That's correct.
So
yeah,
we know that
about that.
Yeah, we know he has at least some levels in wizard.
But who even knows? He could be anything. It's Gilmore.
Very true. He denies it, but he could still possibly be a dragon.
Yeah, saying I'm not a dragon is exactly the sort of thing a dragon would say.
Oh my lordy.
Well, Kalia's fond of the Gilmore's a prismatic dragon theory, so...
She is.
And for those of you who aren't aware, Kalia did have to step away for just a moment, so that's why she hasn't voiced an opinion yet.
Why we can make fun of her while she's not here.
So as Grog is, starting to
I
get...
am still listening to everything being said, though.
Damn it!
And I am absolutely fond of the idea that Gilmore is a prismatic.
So there you go. So as Grog is getting everything, started moving, Vax steps up to Kaine and goes into Vaxeldad mode, giving Kaine a chance of redemption. Now, if you guys have been following on following the comments on last week's episode of Gilmore's Glorious Gossip, I mentioned that Vax was pulling a Pally-Vax, and I just wanted to clarify in public, I meant the typical, or the stereotypical rather, paladin stereotype of always seeking redemption. The real-world mythos of the paladin, not the class paladin. So, but he gets Whisper from Kaine, and Vax gives it to Keyleth to hold. And shortly after that little conversation of, Kaine, you have a lot to answer for. We're not going into it now. Just help where you can. Shortly after that, trying to figure out how they're going to get Percy back. As a brief aside, getting sidetracked again. Keyleth showed that when it comes to the party, she's a bloodthirsty little minx.
She can be. She totally can be, and she can hold a bit of a grudge. By the looks of it, through this entire episode, she was basically shooting eye daggers at Kaine, which
Yep.
surprised me because I don't know. I always think of Kiki as someone who would be first to forgive, first to kind of go, "Oh, it's okay."
I don't
kind
know.
of thing.
She's the whole time has been a bit of a grudge holder. She holds grudges quite well. Like, even
Yes.
to begin with, like, I mean, her and Kima at first were, like, Kima was religious and therefore Keyleth had a massive grudge against her. I mean, there's a little bit more to it than that, but, like, Keyleth has always been one to hold a bit of a grudge, and it's nice to see a flaw like that stick through.
Yes.
Like, Marisha does a beautiful job of it.
That is so true, and I felt almost like I was laxed into a false sense of security with Keyleth in a way. Like I kind of forgot about that part of her because of everything that's been going on and the way that she's been doubting herself and all of this other kind of emotional side step that she's had to take. I forgot about that part of her, and then it came out so strong in this episode. And I'm like, oh, there she is. Oh, we
Yes.
missed you. Hello.
I mean, part of
Welcome
it
back.
is fair. I mean, he did kind of stab her a lot, which is not nice.
He did.
but-
He straight up killed her.
That's
As they keep pointing out in the chat, we are reading the chat, guys.
We are. I'm
we-
sorry.
we are
Guys, it's
listening.
gone a bit quick.
That's okay. Conversation gets going, and you got to find the high points and low points when you can step in with that stuff. But yeah, Kaine flat out killed her.
Yeah. So, like, she has a right to be angry with him.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
But what worried me was that she was willing to work with Orthax just to bring Percy back.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that was originally suggested by Grog, wasn't it? He said, well, where is Orthax? And they said over there, and he's like, well, could we make a deal with it? And Keyleth was like, maybe.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it
the
was
part
on
that was
It was on the
surprising me.
table.
Yeah.
Can I just go back to Kaine just for 1 sec before we go into this, though? We do see the chat, and I've seen a couple of comments of how much you, like, oh, Kaine really got on my nerves. They should have just killed Kaine. It was all through Reddit as well. Very strong. Just everyone really with this kid, this little
Yeah, how old is this kid? He's got to be, like, if he's young, he's always been described as young, and the fact that we know that, like, Percy is early 20s, this kid's probably still a teenager.
Yeah,
I'm guessing probably about 16.
when
Yeah,
Kaine
that
was
sounds about
No
right.
older than 18.
when Kaine
probably.
was introduced, and it's only been 9 months in game. When Kaine
Yeah.
was introduced, Matt said this 15 or 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Wow. He's so young. I don't know.
Yeah.
Personally, I felt really sorry for him.
Yeah, I mean,
I
Matt
think
said it himself. He was brainwashed.
Yes. And
Right.
here's the thing that I found amusing about that whole situation of everybody just hating Kaine. Kaine was a critter. Kaine was one of us.
Ooh.
Kaine
He
was
was-
supposed to represent the critter community.
Yep.
And when Kaine got rebuffed by the Critical Role cast, he got angry about it. He fell in with the wrong crowd.
Yep.
That is a direct correlation to us.
It's a
Yes.
whole nother level of looking at this character. I keep.
Well, I mean, I was in
It's
the
true,
military
though.
as
It's
an
absolutely true.
analyst.
I love it. It's so true. It definitely is, and I think maybe because I've fallen in with the wrong crowd in my lifetime, and I've made some really bad decisions in my life, and I kind of look back to my teenage years and the crowds that I fell in with and what I did, and then I look at where I am now. I'm married, I've got a house,
Yeah.
I've got dogs. I feel like I'm a nice enough person. I try. That kind of reflection is like, hey guys, this kid, he's trying his hardest and he just keeps getting misled. And maybe if Vox Machina had just taken him under their wing a little bit in the beginning, it would have been a different story for him. So I know I'm making excuses, and you guys have, so you can definitely not like him if you like. I'm not saying that. I think that's completely understandable, and I understand where that comes from, and that's fine. But I think I kind of see a bit of me in him. Yeah,
it's really important to look at the whole picture when it comes to a character like Kaine. And we see it a lot in media these days, this kind of redeemable villain trope, the kind of got turned to the bad side, ends up having to look back on mistakes.
Look at The Incredibles. You know, Syndrome was the same way.
Unfortunately,
it's really important.
Yeah, unfortunately, Syndrome went to an extreme, so he didn't make it out. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, that's fair.
So.
But yeah, like I was saying, I just think it's really important that we let this play out a little longer. We know there's a lot more going on than just his own personal choices. And yeah, I understand why people are getting upset with him. You know, he was, complicit in Percy's death.
He was a little shit.
He was a little shit, for sure. But I think we should let this play out a little longer before we're like, they should have killed him. But like I said, it is fair to feel angry that this person hurt the people that we love.
100%.
I saw in the chat, when I scroll up a little bit because it went by too quickly. There we go. Steelajet in the chat points out that Kaine was a maverick in the original meaning of the word, being an unbranded cow that belongs to the first person to brand them. And he gave that opportunity. No, it's very true.
I like that.
He gave that opportunity to Vox Machina, but they weren't in a position where they could help him in any way, shape, or form. So, they said, hey, get some training, come back when you're actually ready. Yeah. And unfortunately, Ripley came in to brand him, and it didn't go the way that was best for anyone.
I love that. Yeah. Becca Music also says, I feel this is like Cassandra too. She got a bit caught up in... That's interesting. That's a good analogy.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but I was quite angry with Cassandra. I did not like her at all.
See, I loved her. I loved that she did all that, but I'm a sucker for a villain. I love betrayal. I love all those traitor storylines. I love it. Yep. So.
So, after the scene with Kaine and after Keyleth shows her willingness to do anything for Vox Machina, the party splits up a little bit in order to make sure everything gets done. Grog recovering everything that we went over earlier. The twins went off to explore the cave that was nearby. And Kaine and Scanlan go off to find the Onyx figurine. While Keyleth stays behind and cleans up Percy as best she can.
Now, later in the episode, we actually get a bit of an exciting insight into why. Sorry, my voice is gone. Into why Vex was so upset. I mean, we understand why she would have been upset, but she was upset to a whole nother level.
Yes.
And she kind of found her brother, and he said to her, I'm so sorry, to her.
Well,
I visit that moment when we actually hit the ritual and with what Vex says.
Yes.
And just discuss if perhaps the twins have talked about this themselves. Because it seemed like he almost knew why it was hitting her so personally. Because he said to her, I am so sorry to you.
Because Vax knew instantly. I don't know what Laura and Liam talk about, behind the scenes between games and such. But it makes sense that Vax would know without anything
Yeah.
having to be said.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
previous comments that Liam's made as Vax has suggested that Vax has, if not known, definitely suspected for some time what's going on.
Yes.
Sure. Like that scene in the temple when he said like, "Don't hurt her," pretty much. Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
but in the cave, it goes back a little ways and then splits, and there is a natural side and a side that has been smoothed out. The twins, go back and they find an altar made of skulls with a lot of fire damage. So, do we want to speculate on the history, or just leave it as it is?
I just want to comment that pretty much everything Vox Machina has faced has had some sort of tie to undeath. In the big bad sections, everything's had movement to undeath. So, this is interesting.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like whatever this was, it was definitely the pinnacle of what happened to the island. That's the only thing I can draw from it. Whatever it was that happened there, some sort of a ritual, some sort of a kind of a sacrifice gone wrong. It could have been anything. It could have been a summoning. Whatever it was so powerful and so effed up. And they said one word wrong, or they put something in wrong. I don't know what they did.
Klaatu, Barata, Nickelodeon.
Right. Don't even talk to me about rituals going wrong right now.
Oh boy.
Oh, my game last night things happened.
That's gonna be, you know what? That's the D&D equivalent of Girls Gone Wild. Rituals gone wrong. Rituals.
Oh,
You won't believe what they accidentally summoned.
Yesterday in Waterdeep, this happened. Yeah. Oh, that would be hilarious.
But yeah, no, I have to agree with Kat that whatever happened on this island, this was the center focus of it.
For sure.
But they don't find anything else in the altar. They did see where they believed the gate scroll came from, but otherwise they didn't find anything. They never went down the natural side to see what went back there. I suspect it just went to the volcano, and that was it.
Yeah.
So they return. They start discussing again, and they remember, oh yeah, we've got the airship we have to do something with. So Vex flies up there and ends up sending the airship to Whitestone. Not necessarily ordering it to Whitestone, but giving the captain enough reason to go to Whitestone.
Which is going to be interesting when they rock up there and can't find Whitestone.
Yes.
Yeah, because she never mentioned that it was invisible to the captain.
Yeah.
So the halfling that they picked up is going to be like, no, it's right here. I'm telling
right
you,
there,
it's gotta
I
be.
swear.
It's gotta be.
How do you lose a city?
Then again, with what's coming up at the end,
Yeah, well, you never know.
we'll just leave that sit till the end.
We called it. We totally called it, though.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now, and I'll cover that when we get to it.
Mm-hmm.
So Vex comes back and they mansion up, and they decide, and it's Vax's idea really. that they're going to camp out in the living room all together because they don't want to sleep alone. And they have Percy laying on the table nearby.
Yes, that wasn't creepy.
I
Well,
think the
any
thing
level.
that just like the thing that killed me with that was when I'm 90% sure it was Scanlan said we're not going to let him sleep alone.
Oh.
That just I mean I was crying this entire episode, but that really hit.
Yeah.
I think it came
Yeah,
up in Critters D&D chat that this was weekend at Percy's.
It also came up in the Geek and Sundry chat as well, and I was totally waiting for it. I was waiting for Scanlan to have Percy sitting there with them with a mug of ale, just sort of sitting there.
Oh.
But, so, they spend the night in the mansion,
In blanket forts.
in blanket forts, and
Which
Vax...
was just adorable.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually surprised that we didn't see, or haven't yet seen, let me put it that way, haven't yet seen
Art?
Critter fan art of them.
I've seen Whip.
I've
It's a
seen
big
it, but
scene.
nothing
As an
finished.
artist, I can say that'll be a big scene to pull
Yes.
off. So we'll get some whips for sure.
There's
though.
a lot of people in that scene.
Yes.
And make it complex, yes.
So, but Vax tells Kaine, stay in the room, but give us space. And when they wake up the next morning, Kaine hasn't slept at all. Because, I mean, really, in his depression, he wouldn't.
No.
Max,
He will be spending that entire night just thinking. His brain would not have shut up for 1 second.
Matt's grasp on depression, and now I can completely shut a person down. This episode was
Oh, yeah.
really, I love that. It was such a deep look into what this can do to a person. If you get to that point in your life, it's like you're nothing. You're like a shell. You're like a walking shell. And that's what he was. It was very depressing.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a sufferer of depression myself, yeah. That's... Yeah.
Yeah, one thing this show has definitely done really well in the past has been touching on mental illness and dealing and showing mental illness. A lot of the characters have shown that in the past, and it's really beautiful.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if we look at all of society, we're all broken in some way or another. We're all broken. It's just how much of it do we show?
Yeah.
How much of it do others recognize? So it is a common thing, and it helps add the human element to things.
It's that
It makes
drop
it
of reality that makes it, relatable.
Love that, Clea. That we're all broken. Yeah,
We're all
that's true.
broken. And I'm being shown the door for my horrible pun. Now watch me whip. Watch me kiki.
Oh my lord.
So everybody that is taking part in the drinking game, please chug whatever it is you're drinking. Just chug it till it's gone.
Okay, I'll do that right now. I've got some water left.
Oh, geez.
Oh, water. Don't go too hard on that.
No, seriously, don't, because
Says the
too much
other
water.
Australian of the podcast.
Yeah. Nope. Anyway, so the next morning they find a tree. They tree stride to Whitestone, and Grog is fireman carrying Percy, which at first confuses Laura. But for anyone that doesn't know, you just drape a person over your shoulder. One shoulder is about at their groin, the other shoulder is in their chest. It just makes things easy and balanced to carry, and away you go.
Rogue's practical.
Yes. A few of the guards, of course, see them and are like, "Oh, hey, you're back." Oh, shit. And so they send the guards to go get Cassandra. as quickly as possible, and they beeline to Pike's temple. And of course, between Ashley having seen the episode and being on Twitter, and Pike having given Percy the necklace, Pike knows what's going on. She doesn't know the specifics, but she knows something bad has happened.
Yeah. Did anyone else watch Ashley's face through this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, that was a
girl.
mistake.
Yeah, she just added to it, didn't she? She was
she-
so. Yeah.
Ashley has just such a beautifully expressive face.
Yes.
She even on a crappy, Skype call big screen, she still just carries such expression in her face, and yeah, really beautiful.
Yeah. And one thing that I want to touch on / reiterate, that necklace that Percy had, that Pike had given to him, came from Pike's box. The one that she had told Grog she would only give to the person she loved.
For some reason, when you say it like that, it just comes across in the worst way.
I'm doing that on purpose.
I know. I get what you're saying, and my mind just went. It started with the 69, and now it's just not
Oh God, no!
stopping.
No, stop. We're supposed to be
Akiva.
adults, damn it.
This is emotional stuff.
I'm so sorry. But yes, that is a true point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they get everybody together and they start the resurrection ritual. And there's a little back and forth on exactly which spell to use, whether it's raise dead or resurrection. But as Vax said, it's Percival Friedrichstein von Musil-Kowalski de Rollo III. And it's
Percival Friedrichstein von Musil-Klasowski de Rollo III.
We both messed up on
You can call me Percy.
Yes, we both messed up on the Kowalski, though.
It's Klasowski.
Everyone messes up that one because it's spelled and said weird.
Yes. But, Vax said it, and it's the first time that a character other than Percy has said, a character, not a non-player character, a player character, has said it without messing it up.
Didn't Vex get it when she was in Whitestone with him the first time? I know she looked at her notes, but I think she got it right.
No, she messed it up, looked at her notes, and then got it right.
Oh, okay. I couldn't exactly remember.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And Liam may have had it written down, but if he was reading it off, he read it off without messing it up, and I was impressed by that.
He probably practiced it.
Yeah,
Well, Harmony, my daughter and I say it like once a week to each other just to keep it fresh.
Oh gosh. That is commitment, Kalia. I'm so proud.
Beautiful. Well done.
So.
And I mean, most people where they goof up is they switch Friedrichstein and von Musil.
Or I have seen quite often they'll say Musseldorf. I have seen that a lot because Musseldorf, if I'm not mistaken, is an actual location in Germany. But
it is.
I shouldn't have said if I remember
Steele
correctly
said that
because
Rex
I have
said it
been
to-
through there. But anyway,
Or backed out. I mean, she did say it, but I do remember that she looked down at her notes. But that was a really powerful moment. So it was blocked initially.
But yes, so they start the ritual, and it's initially blocked,
and Penix, it's in.
Yeah,
Oh,
Like, we knew this was a possibility. We
Yeah.
talked about it last week, and I said, I don't think it's going to happen, but it happened.
It
Hey,
happened.
I would have totally done that, 100%. I mean, Orthax isn't gonna chase this guy down without
Yeah.
claiming his soul and just. He's not gonna let Percy rest. There's no
Yeah.
way.
No.
So,
No.
Yeah.
and what really impressed me about the scene was that when the player started questioning, well, what do we do? Can we do something? Matt didn't give him any hints. He said, you have to think about it.
Yeah. That is some impressive DMing there. I know from personal experience, we had a similar situation last night where things got really dire at one point, and a party member had rolled a 1 in a really bad situation, and the party had to respond really quickly to work out how to save this character's life. And I, as a DM, was really struggling not to go, just use mass cure wounds, you'll be fine, it'll be fine. So, yeah, really impressed with Matt holding his ground and just saying, you have to think about it with that one.
Yeah.
So, but it was shortly after that Keyleth pulls out the gun, thinking, maybe Pike can use it as a focus or something along those lines. And that's when everything crystallizes, and Pike realizes that Orthax is eating Percy's soul.
Yep.
Yeah.
As if that poor boy didn't have enough problems as it was.
Yeah. Yeah, now he's got tooth marks in his soul.
Yeah.
So, Keyleth casts Greater Restoration, like Pike did with Grog, in order to free Percy. What was that?
I would like to check here. I'm just putting this out. The first thing I thought was she casts a spell, and then she reaches in and she grabs it and she wrestles it, and Orthax kind of shoots back at her. He's like, "No, I'm not letting him go." And I was waiting for the check. I was waiting for the roll that she'd have to roll to see if she could battle this demon and break it free. And she didn't have to make one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, damn. But it was fine at the end of the day. I mean, probably the resurrection itself was hard enough.
Yeah.
And Matt was just giving them that. But I sort of wonder what might have happened if she didn't break him free. If she had failed at that, I don't know.
If she had failed at that, we'd be looking at Talison's new character instead of Percy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a possibility they might have been able to do some sort of mini quest to go and pursue this, but whether they would have had the time considering the situation they're currently in.
Well, on that
They
note,
would have to have gone.
what was that?
Where they would have had to have gone. That's no small side quest.
No, but
no.
at the same time, this is Vox Machina, and considering that Keyleth was already willing to work with Orthax to bring Percy back, they would have dropped Taldore in a heartbeat in order to get him back.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Keyleth frees him, and the ritual goes on. As they are figuring out what they can each contribute, Vex searches Percy, trying to find the little glass shard of residuum. And as she's doing so, she finds a letter that she takes as well. Vex places the residuum on Percy's chest and then professes her love for him.
Yep.
In one simple phrase, I should have told you, it's yours.
Now, this wasn't easy for her because the first thing she did was she put the stone on his chest and then kind of let that be. And Matt said, "Okay, what are you going to offer?" And like I was kind of hoping the stone would be enough. You know, like she kind
Yeah.
of put the stone on her chest and went, "Okay, I'm done now." And Matt's like, "Nah, like
No, you're not.
You have to give something here. Like reach into your soul and give it." And she did. She delivered. She's like, "Okay, well, I'm just going to give this then." And it was a massive leap, I think, for her character.
Yeah.
Yep, she even leaned down and kissed him. And did you guys see Ashley's face?
Yep.
I did not.
It's
Oh,
it
heartbreaking.
if Ashley had been standing at the top of the Empire State Building, her face fell so far it hit the basement.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was quick.
Yeah.
It was a look that kind of went over her face, and then she
She did.
Yep.
She then put on her business mask of "I am Pike. I am a cleric. I am bringing this man back to life." But
I'm kind of worried that maybe we might be looking into it a little bit. I did see that look, and that's the first thing I thought. But I remember that she told Laura at some point who the object of her character's affection was in a roundabout way. You remember that?
yeah,
Yeah, I do remember that scene.
yeah.
So I'm kind of like,
But you also have to remember that this group is not going to let out-of-game knowledge interfere with their own character development. And who has been there for Vex that she's not related to? Percy.
if
Yep.
that is the case, then I applaud them, 100%, because that's good.
There have been a number of times where Marisha especially, she'll find out something out of game and she'll want to use it. She'll get right up to the edge of metagaming and then realize she's doing it and then pull herself back.
Yep. I've seen it.
Which
I've seen it a
honestly,
lot with them.
I love players like that because it means they're really engaging with the world, but they respect it enough to know where to draw the line.
Oh.
So they want to know these things and they find out these things and they go, I really wanted, nope, I can't say that. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
Like
So
I
bad at
can
metagame.
I
Just
can
need
totally
to-
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My main campaign group at the moment, then none of them are critters, none of them watch any of that. They just love Dungeons and Dragons, so they're just straight up Dungeons and Dragons people. The metagaming, sometimes I just have to become really mean DM because it in just a standard group of people, metagaming and table talk across table talk is constant and common, and you have to constantly be on that. You know,
Yes.
the DM just on it and just squash it really quickly, otherwise it gets out of control. And Matt, again, I've said this 100 times, is so lucky that he has such an amazing table of players who will even turn to each other and go, hey, you're not there. Hey, you know, you don't know this. And they
Yes.
kind of even police themselves, which is such a weight off a DM's shoulders to have players like that.
Oh,
Such
yes.
a
Right.
blessing.
Yeah, the Desert Winds group is really good, and my Wednesday night group is really good about not metagaming. So
Yeah,
I'm
my
blessed. Yeah.
My home game players are great with that as well. They'll be like, "Ooh, nope, not there. Never mind."
Oh, so jealous, so jealous.
I had a group that was really bad about metagaming, so they learned to fear the question, how does your character know that?
It's a good one.
Check, it's constant.
My advantage is that all my players are drama students, so we're all like story. Gotta
Yes.
follow
Right.
story. So yeah.
But because of Vex's profession
Nat 20?
there, Matt has her roll a persuasion, and she nat 20s it. Which, of
Guys-
course... Go ahead.
Nicer players in themselves.
Mhm.
It was like the perfect role for that moment.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, we've talked about it before. Vox Machina's superpower is pulling out the roll when it counts. That counted. That counted. It was awesome. I also saw some fan art today. I don't remember who it was by, but it was Percy and Vex, and she's like cuddling him, and he's trying to get away, and she's like, no, nat 20.
Yes.
No, take backsies. That was a nat 20.
That was a nat 20. Don't I get a say in this? Nope, no take backsies. So, next up, Scanlan inspires Pike, giving her the opportunity to provide a little bit more to the ritual. So Pike, knowing, having seen what just happened, instead of appealing to Percy directly, appeals to Sarenrae and uses divine intervention. She doesn't roll high enough for the goddess to appear or send an emissary, but it is decent enough that Matt says Sarenrae is with you and is showing you support. So she gets a religion check, which she gets an 18. Because of the inspiration, she adds an inspiration roll of 10, bringing it to 28, which further reduces the DC by another 3. And then Keyleth calls out to Percy, saying that, you said, we all have to die one day. Today is not that day. The journey's not over. And she uses conjure woodland creature to summon crows, which I thought was awesome. And knowing Marisha, it was a great nod to the Native American belief system, where crows were the stewards of the dead. Crows led the souls of the dead to their final resting place.
Which really adds to the imagery that's always been around Percy of kind of the crows and his vengeance quest leading his specific souls of the dead and things like that. I really liked that.
Your soul is forfeit.
Yes.
Yes. And what I thought was kind of interesting, Vax pops the wings from his armor to accentuate Keyleth's point. A lot of people were kind of questioning that because the Raven Queen doesn't care what's going on Exandria. Her job is to usher a soul from life into death when that death is earned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is, Vax, rather. Take a shot. This is Vax showing that his belief is that, send souls where they're supposed to be. This soul isn't supposed to be gone yet.
Yeah. Yes.
And
I mean, in a gaming point of view too, he's also wasted his wing.
And then Vax pops his wings from his armor to accentuate Keyleth's point, giving her advantage on the roll, which Matt says it's a charisma roll. Normally not her best rolling trait, but she rolls really well with a 19, bringing another -3 to the DC. And the final DC, I couldn't remember if it started at DC 12 or DC 15.
I have those rules here somewhere on my desktop. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Matt posted them and I saved them, so I'll look them up right now.
I believe it's normally at 12.
Oh, DC starts at 10 apparently.
At 10?
Yeah, success lowers DC by 3, failures increase by 1, and then final resurrection roll made by the DM, straight D20 to signify if the player's soul returns or is lost.
Okay. Well, if the DC starts at 10, then only a natural 1 would have failed.
Mm-hmm.
Because with a... If it had started at 12, then the final DC would have been 2, because 12 minus 1 for the higher resurrection spell, and then 3 successful checks, grand total of DC of 2. If it was 15, it would have been a 5. But yeah, with a 10, only a natural 1 would have failed that.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt rolls, and then he stalls. And everybody was like, "What are you doing, Matt? What's happening with Percy? Tell us what's happening with Percy."
I knew that it was Taliesin. I knew that it was going to be Taliesin in the end. I'm sitting there yelling at my television going, "God damn it, Taliesin, don't do this to me!"
Oh, yeah. So Matt was stalling because he was awaiting a text from Taliesin on whether or not he would come back based on what the players had said.
Which is really cool. I really liked that aspect of it.
So, I mean, it really showed that Taliesin took not only the resurrection seriously, but also his character seriously. Mm-hmm. And as a DM, that really, really made me proud.
Mm.
And I hope that my players take their characters that seriously.
Yeah.
But
we had a really nice moment in our home game after this episode where our druid actually got the party all to give their consent about resurrections before they went into the big boss fight. So, because the player had watched this episode and thought, well, maybe some people don't want to be resurrected, so let's get our cards on the table and everyone yes or no on resurrection. So that was really nice.
Well, I know that, during my Wednesday night Adventurers League stuff, I had 2 characters die during Barovia. One of those characters did want to be brought back. The other one did not. And they saw the way that I handled it, because I had talked to the player beforehand, and I was like, "Do you want to bring your character back next week?" And he was like, "No, I'm going to use this backup character." So they went to go see Jenny Greenteeth, and she was performing the resurrection rituals, and she's like, "I see the spirit of the other one that you lost, but its spirit is not answering to me, is not heeding my call. Looks like this one doesn't want to come back." So, yeah. That was the way we handled that.
Scott Graham in the chat is saying, "This was so perfect. It kind of confirmed my belief that he was ready to move on, but that he realized Percy may or may not have been ready." I think it was more along the lines of Percy was ready, but when he realized how it would impact the party,
yeah,
that he realized that he would be letting people down. And that's something I don't think Percy would stand for.
No.
He already thinks he's letting everyone down.
Yeah.
So.
Although, like I said on Twitter last week, this is Percy we're talking about, so it was probably Scanlan's poem that inspired him to come back, honestly. It's like, I can't leave that.
Well, that and, Scanlan's always pestering him for a gun, so if he didn't come back, Scanlan would have tried using it without any direction at all. That's a scary thought. So at that point, Matt tweets out the picture of the roll, and he rolled a solid 10. And he reveals that he was waiting for Talison's text and all that, and the party just... There was a little bit of happy antagonism.
Yeah.
That we're glad you're back, but you're a little
bit of bitterness.
Yes, we're glad you're back, but you're a shit for putting us through that.
Yeah.
So at that point, they go on break, and when they come back, Matt reveals that Percy has a -4 to all of his rolls for a few days. It's not quite exhaustion, but it is similar to it in that one long rest he goes to -3, another long rest -2, and so on.
That's actually standard vanilla rules, though. That's not something that Matt has cooked up.
No, that's true. That's true. But I just wanted to make sure, because I saw in the Geek and Sundry chat both last week and this week the confusion of, so he's exhausted. Not quite. He's
not technically.
Yeah, he's soul torn.
He's suffering the after effects.
Right. What it is it's to show the stress of the soul leaving the body and coming back, and what that does to a soul. That's what it's supposed to simulate.
Yes.
And honestly, I'm surprised Matt didn't make it worse for the fact that Percy got a bit chewed on before he came back.
Yes.
Right.
But I think we'll be seeing other after effects of that as we go along.
Agreed. So as they're coming together, hugging Percy and being glad that he's back, Cassandra rushes in with Seeker Asum.
I forgot that person was there at that time.
Yes. And at first, Cassandra seems a little annoyed that at first glance she was made to panic for nothing. And then she realizes what's going on. So, I kind of wonder what Cass did when she left that room. I mean, considering what happened over the Briarwood arc, did she just put on the royal face, for lack of a better term, and continue about her day? Or did she go back to her room and, have her own little breakdown that she almost lost her brother?
And another thing to consider there is she's probably still a teenager. If Percy's, early 20s and she's younger than him, she's very young. So...
yeah, I think...
she's tough, but I think she probably went and found herself a nice quiet spot to have a moment about that.
Yeah, so do I. And then, of course, Scanlan pops up with his usual half jokes. Scanlan, can I have a gun? I like Tommy D's response in the chat. She's a Derolo. She had a drink, and then she designed something destructive.
Probably, honestly.
I I don't see Cass as being as destructive-minded as Percy. So I think she probably would have had a drink and then thought about it, but didn't actually design anything. Didn't put anything down on paper. But because of Scanlan, continuing to harp on wanting a gun, Kat, who could not be here today, grabbed this, I believe, from Reddit. And this is from Opus Mopus _15. Asking, could we see Scanlan multiclassing into Gunslinger soon? He has had a fascination with Percy's guns for a while now.
It would be horrifying. I want it.
A true DM response there.
Like, seriously, would that not be just the worst idea ever? It needs to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
I think I don't know if Matt has a downtime days system or not implemented into his game, but I think if anything, we'll see Scanlan pick up a proficiency in firearms, but I doubt we're going to see him go full gunslinger.
Agreed.
It's a difficult
because
one
he's already
to multi-class into with max rolls.
Right. I think he's too far into his main class right now to switch at this point.
Because he's like, what, 15, 16 now?
Something like that, yeah. I think 15.
Yeah, 15, I think.
Yeah, at best he could get 5 levels of fighter with 2 levels within the gunslinger itself. I don't really think it, from a mechanics point of view, I don't think it would be worth it. But from a story point of view, it would be hilarious.
Oh, it would be great as a story. It'd be great as a story. But remember, guys, I'm a practical min-maxer.
Yes.
And
you'll hate me then, because I multi-class while playing a cleric.
So did I.
So
in Kalia's game, actually.
Yeah, he's cleric warlock.
Yep, cleric warlock.
I'm cleric gunslinger.
Oh, nice. Healing bullet to the face.
It's like Ana from Overwatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hope.
I like Race Young's comment in the chat. Bigby's hand with a giant hand cannon.
Yes. I'm drawing that. That's going to look.
Bigby's hand could hold a Gatling gun.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Nice stable platform for a Gatling gun. Let's make it happen, critters. Come on. Here we go.
Bigby's chain gun?
Pretty
much.
Gun. That's going on my list. There we go. Done.
So, the conversation continues on, and Percy asks Pike about all the books he left behind for her and recommended for her to read. And Pike lies about it. Which actually garners approval from Grog and Percy.
Yeah.
So the party starts to head towards the castle, and they meet with Jarrett and Gilmore along the way. They have Gilmore identify the vestiges that they received, and I have yet to see cards on the 2 new vestiges.
Yeah, I haven't seen cards on those either.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the critters are going to know until they actually get revealed in game. Like they're actually used in game.
One thing that I would like to see, and a year and a half off from now, by the way, at the end of the story, just have them post all of the cards for all of the magic items that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yes.
Yes.
So the first thing that Gilmore identifies is Cabal's Ruin, the cloak. It gives you saving throws against all magical effects once per short rest. It halves the damage of spells that have damage associated with them. And every time it does so, it gains a charge equal to the spell level that was used, up to 6 charges. When the player does a melee attack on a target, they expend a number of charges to add lightning damage, up to a total of 66. And of course, it does require attunement. So that is powerful, but they are 15th level, so it sort of makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, now the artifacts are going to be doing, they're going to have more oomph.
Yes. Let me just say, Cabal's Ruin is not something you give to level 5 players.
No.
The next is Whisper, the dagger, which gives a +3 to attack and damage. In addition, it does 1d8 psychic damage, and you can choose to teleport to the dagger when you throw it. Meaning you throw it, it hits the target, you teleport to it, or it lands, you teleport to it, and your hand is already wrapped around it. If you get a critical with Whisper, it invokes a Wisdom save at a DC 18, or the target becomes frightened of you. So, no wonder level 9 Kaine was kicking ass with that thing.
That's hardcore.
Yeah. And then more for, just hopefulness. Vex has Gilmore identify the music box, and it's just a music box.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I got distracted by the chat for just a moment. So then Scanlan has Gilmore look at the book that he got back in Marquette. And as Gilmore puts it, that book found the proper owner.
Yes.
It turned out to be essentially the Marquesian Kama Sutra.
Yep. That was awesome.
Beautiful.
I figured it was like a ledger book of some sort. But
yeah,
it was...
This was a hotel. I mean...
Well, yes, but it wasn't picked up in a hotel room. It was picked up in a hotel meeting room. So that's why I was thinking...
I mean, what sort of meetings would be going on in a casino?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Oh, no, I yeah.
Boeing had... The Boeing Aircraft Corporation has had a large number of contracts signed in casino business rooms.
Interesting.
I mean, they're perfectly legitimate places to meet. It offers, both distraction, relaxation, and a place to focus at the same time.
Yep.
That's fair.
So, with Jarrett there, Scanlan pulls him aside and hands over the Fusaka. And then asks for drugs. In a very roundabout way. Now,
I loved this sequence. I absolutely loved it.
Well, this
was
was
hilarious.
this was only the beginning portion of it.
Yeah.
The actual
The latest
asking
scene.
happened later. Yeah. But this is where you can tell, yeah, he's going to ask.
Uh-huh.
Vex then, once they rejoin the group, Vex places Kaine under Jarrett's tutelage, which I think is a great move.
Yes.
Not only does the city guard now have a level 9 adventurer with them, but Kaine is in a place where he can get the focus he needs.
Yeah, and I feel like Jarrett's probably a really good person to be in charge of Kaine. He seems to have the perfect personality for it. He's professional and calm and in control, but he's kind. So I think that's exactly the sort of person Kaine needs around.
Absolutely. So, as they are talking, Jarrett remembers that he was given something to deliver and hands Keyleth a letter. And Matt's like, no, go ahead and read it. Read the letter. And Marisha's like, but it's a long letter. And then Matt hits play.
Yes, and I start sobbing again.
There was a voice recording by Patrick Rothfuss, because the letter was from Care, and included in the letter was a ring. We're not going to go into the details of the letter because
It's really long.
A, it's really long,
Really long.
and B, I think that scene needs to be taken as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Patrick Rothfuss actually did a really good job voice acting it. And you could tell that it was something that he had been thinking about, and he put a lot of his heart and soul into.
Yes.
So I definitely applaud him for doing so. And I think because of that, it really made this scene just kind of pop. I talk about how heartless I am frequently on this show, and that one got to me.
Like, I spent a lot of this episode crying, but, like, that was very emotional.
Oh my God, indeed.
You almost said it.
No, I did say it.
Drink anyway.
I did say it. I said oh my God, indeed. So go ahead,
Hey,
take your drinks. But
take your drinks, everybody. He was trying to hold back, though.
no, I was trying to emphasize it, is what I was trying to do.
Oh, okay.
He knows.
It sounded like an internet stutter, so...
So all I have to say is, I'm a straight male, but that scene made me want to have Patrick Rothfuss's children. That it was that beautiful.
I just want to, like, sit and have a coffee with him and just be like, how are you the person that you are? How do I become you? That's what I want to do.
Oh man.
I have a friend that actually reminds me a lot of Patrick Rothfuss. He's a friend and a fellow DM, and I haven't had a lot of contact with him for a lot of years, but he really does remind me a lot of Patrick Rothfuss. Mannerisms, manner of speech, I mean the whole 9 yards. It's really kind of fascinating.
Have you seen him and Patrick Rothfuss in the same room?
Well, you see,
'Cause-
about that, I'm not saying yes, but I'm not no either.
Because if there's anyone out there who's living a secret double life, I wouldn't put it past Patrick Rothfuss.
Agreed.
Like,
Patrick
And
Rothfuss.
that's why his latest book is taking forever.
that's
Yeah.
what I was going to say. He's too busy
love you,
living a
Patrick.
second life.
Patrick Rothfuss is the Batman of the real world. So with that, Percy goes off to bed while the rest of the party goes to drink with Jarrett. And En wrote, I can't remember if it was Vax or Vex who said it. I think it was Vex who asked Pike to check Kaine out, make sure he's not evil. And the result is that Kaine isn't evil, but he seems to be recovering from sort of a brainwashing or cult-like status. So he's not much of a danger to the party, just to himself right now.
Yeah. Matt very clearly put up the red flags there.
Yeah.
Just went, hey, keep an eye on him.
I got the feeling that Matt may have had a lot of, not necessarily a lot, but may have had at least some personal experience with that sort of issue. Because a lot of the things that he hit on are the same things that I express when I'm going through my depressions.
Yeah. It's definitely an informed position Matt was taking there. He definitely knew what he was talking about.
Right.
At the very, very least, he did his homework.
Yeah. Which doesn't surprise me with Matt. He deeply respects his characters and his world and the people who are experiencing it. So,
Absolutely.
of course, he's going to do research into that sort of thing.
So they get to the bar, and they start drinking, and Grog shares the sandkeg wine with Jarrett, and because Jarrett takes the drink, Grog drinks with him.
And the roller coaster swings back up.
Yes. But did anyone else think that Jarrett turned into Inigo Montoya from
A little bit.
The Princess Bride?
A little bit.
Like, I could totally see Jarrett at that point saying, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die."
Protect it.
I don't think it would have come out that clearly, but probably.
True, but I'm also not
Hello,
as talented a
My
voice
name
actor
is
as...
Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Definitely just like that.
Yeah.
So, Vax steps to the side, talks to Kaine, and shows him the knives that he had bought for him. Giving Kaine the hope of being accepted. Or letting him know that he was accepted, but not just accepted, being a part of the team, I guess you could say. But he does the smart thing and doesn't actually give him the knives. After that little conversation, Grog gives some of the sandkeg wine to Pike. And she saves hard enough on the first drink that it doesn't affect her at all. So she takes a second and promptly passes out with a
God,
natural
That was
one.
awesome. That was awesome.
Just beautiful.
Master.
Oh, and the way Ashley just played into it by intentionally screwing up her sentence, and then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So while Jarrett's under the effects of the Sandkeg wine, Scanlan pulls him aside again, and this is where we get into the full conversation about asking for the drugs.
Yeah, I loved this sequence.
Oh, this was so hilarious. I mean, I don't have the words for it. I really don't.
Yeah, there's not much that can be said, honestly. Like, it happened.
Yeah, it happened, and
We're blessed with that.
if you guys don't remember the scene too well, definitely worth a rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vex pulls out Percy's letter, and they go over it, and it is heart-wrenching again.
Yep. Remember how earlier I said I spent most of this episode crying? Yeah.
Percival, what are we going to do with you?
I don't know. Hug him, hopefully.
Yes.
Lots of hugs.
So, eventually, as things are winding down and Vax is piling platters and cups on Pike's back.
I must have missed that during the live watch, because I saw the artwork this week, and I was like, when did that happen?
Liam
And
was very subtle with it. He was just doing sidebars to Matt throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and it was while he was conversing with the rest of the party.
Mm-hmm.
So he
Okay.
would say something. Oh, another tray, more cups, and it was just hilarious because Grog, eventually pushes Vax into the pile of trays, which of course wakes Pike up. And her response, I'm sorry, I was trying to stealth. What?
Relatable cleric feels.
Yes. So after that, the party goes off to sleep. And the next morning, Seeker asks to speak with Vox Machina in the war room.
Yep.
And I'm going to reiterate, we called it, you guys.
We did. We here on Vox Machina.
Yeah, everyone's like,
Gilmore's
Vox
Disgusting.
Machina. Why do I still have that alpha stuff running through my head, so I was thinking Tox Machina, and we are Gilmore's Glorious Gossip. I have to remember that.
I'm pretty sure that if Sean hears you say Vox Machina one more time, he's going to say, go be gone, go be with those misfits.
Yeah, he's all about the branding. So yeah, we here at Gilmore's Glorious Gossip, we had the discussion, and we said that our most likely bet was on Seeker Asum.
There
And I
were
remember
just so many holes in the story.
Yeah. And I remember I had asked in Critter's D&D chat, I was like, is it safe to assume that this is Raishan, or that this is actually Seeker Asum? I don't think it is. And the rest of the people in chat were saying, well, no, it's not safe to assume anything at this point. But I had that gut instinct that said, this is the person that Raishan would take, because this is the person that's in and out of everything.
Now,
And I think that's the DM instinct, because I had the same thing. I'm like, if I was going to put a party member, betray AC, it would be Assume.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do have to point out, because this is a podcast that embraces conversation, we did have to embrace the possibility that it was someone else. So, That's why when we were talking about Marquette, we were pushing on who is this elf? Because that came up a lot in the GNS chat. But, we also... Our bets were on Asum, and we were right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Raishan reveals herself to be Seeker Asum, and she wants Thordak dead.
So exciting.
So
I was so especially furious at this reveal because Crit Roll aired the day before my game at home, and I had been planning for months at the end of the game to reveal one of the NPCs was secretly an ancient green dragon.
Oh.
The day before. I was furious.
Now you're going to start dating your notes. So that everybody knows that you had this idea before Crit Roll.
Yeah.
And Tommy D is stating, to be honest, I thought Asum was too obvious. I actually thought it was the former queen from Iman.
But here's the thing, Tommy. Where is the best place to hide something?
In plain
Right
sight.
in plain sight.
So, I mean, that and, Vox Machina saw the Empress and Raishan at the same time, and then proceeded to put the Queen in Whitestone, or the Empress in Whitestone. So that option was already out.
Mm-hmm.
We never got eyes on Asum after the fight, after the big dragon reveal. There were never eyes on Asum until he came back, but it was not him, so we still technically haven't had eyes on Asum.
Yes. So Kat did grab a few more comments for us. This one's coming from Mudder, M-U-D-R. What do you think happened to Allura and Kima? They were looking for information about Raishan, and it has been quite a while. Do you think Asum Raishan is behind it? At the time,
Well, now we have an answer to that question.
we do have an answer to that question. However, at the time, I didn't think that was possible, primarily because Kima and Allura were part of the team that locked Thordak in the fire plane. Considering Thordak, even back then, Thordak would have been stronger than Raishan. Now, while Raishan could be getting stronger, Kima and Allura weren't exactly sitting on their thumbs either. So, I think they would have been able, just the two of them would have been able to at least hold off Raishan long enough for them to escape. It would have been too risky for Raishan to have moved on them. Do you guys want to add anything to that?
And yeah, I mean, if Raishan's looking for allies, it'd be a real dumb idea to kill off your potential allies. Doesn't
Right.
paint you in a good light.
It doesn't paint you in a good light and only raises their ire.
Yes.
Yeah.
While it does make your
And
while it does make your position stronger, overall now they are down two powerful allies. Again, you're still.
yeah, Vox Machina is
It's a
mad
dangerous-
enough at Raishan as it is.
So the next comment comes from Propose. Now we know why Asum was so concerned on pressing them on time, which did feel a bit weird before, because Rashawn knows what Thordak is up to, and that whatever his plan is, or was, is almost complete. Hold on, I got something in my eyes. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Propose continues. I also just rewatched Asum Rashawn's talk in Whitestone the first time they meet her in the war room, and she blatantly tells them what's more dangerous than an intelligent dragon is one that's crazy. And after the reveal, it's fairly certain she was referring to herself in comparison to Thordak. She also says the necessity to stay alive overrides any previous friendships so bitterly. Oh my god, Matt played this so brilliantly. Also, apparently, Vex's dragon sense didn't detect Asum Rashawn either.
And we knew that it wouldn't. We said that it
Yes.
wouldn't.
Yes. Whatever it is that Rashawn was using to get away from, or to hide herself from scryings, would also work against the primordial
Primeval awareness.
or primeval awareness. That's what I meant.
But here's the thing. It would have detected dragons, but not proximity or not location, as per the rules.
Yeah.
So it may have detected a dragon nearby, but how nearby? It's somewhere within that 1 mile or 6 miles if it's in your favored terrain.
Yes, and
Which I don't think Cityscape is part of Vex's favored terrain.
No. And
So
even if it wasn't, Whitestone's technically in the mountains, which I don't think
Mountains
is
are.
Vex's either.
Mountains
mountains
are?
and forest. Mountains and forest.
Right.
Now, keep
Never
in
mind.
mind, they're using, for lack of a better term, the vanilla player's handbook rules, as far as we are aware.
Yep.
If they had switched over to the
Unearthed.
Unearthed Arcana rules, Matt probably would have said something, but that would have changed things slightly. I still think Rashawn is powerful enough to get by even that.
Yeah, she specifically says in the next episode that she's got ways of hiding herself, so she definitely would have had something.
Yes. So that ends episode 69, in which Matt Mercer gains the title Master of the Cliffhanger.
If he didn't already have it before.
I
Certainly solidified it.
Yes. I think this was the point that earned him the title solidly. So into episode 70, we'll start with the pre-show announcements. At the very end of the links in the description below, there is the Battle of the Bards finale.
Okay, so last week I had not watched these yet. This week I made it a point to watch these, and Chance stood no chance.
Not a single chance.
Chance got so thoroughly owned that after Scanlan's last, the second one, he sent out a tweet and said, "I know when I'm defeated, I tip my hat to you, or I bow to your superiority," something along those lines. This contest doesn't need to go any further.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but either way, thank you to Chance. Let me grab his actual Twitter name. We Mod Boys for entertaining us with that little diversion. It was highly entertaining and very skillful on both sides.
Yeah.
So, but because this is October, the Critical Role cast, not Geek and Sundry, the Critical Role cast is doing a costume contest. If you guys, do costumes dressed up like Vox Machina, put those pictures on Twitter, tweet them to the cast, and they will pick their I don't know if it's one favorite or three favorites.
It's a winner and a runner-up.
Oh, it is a winner and a runner-up? Okay.
Yeah.
They weren't clear on what the prize would be. They're giving themselves some time to figure that out. And you know what this reminded me of, Kalia?
What's that?
Our contest.
Oh, yeah, we have a contest that we've been trying to kick off for a couple of weeks now.
Yes, but unfortunately, I forgot about it last week. Otherwise, it would have been in the pre-show announcements last week. So we have not forgotten about the contest entirely.
In fact, we've even discussed it behind the scenes here and the way it's going to work.
So, here's what you guys need to know. During the month of October, we want you guys to tweet us with your puns. The best puns that you can come up with.
Or the worst.
Or the worst, depending on how you guys view puns. But we want to see what you guys can come up with. We are going to run from starting on Monday after this video goes live on YouTube. So that's between the 10th and the 31st. We're going to end this on Halloween. Tweet us your best puns. We will choose our favorite, and the best/worst pun in mine, Kat's, and Kalia's eyes will win the prize.
And as you recall, the prize is a miniature painted by myself. You will have to supply the miniature. I will do the painting, and I will ship it back to you. But you will have to supply the miniature. Whether that's a Hero Forge mini, whether it's a metal mini from another company, whether it's Reaper or whatever, you supply the mini, I will paint it. I do also have a couple of miniatures here that I could paint and ship out. I've got a Reaper Fire Giant mini that I could paint and send out as well, if you would rather have that.
So, Akuma Mika asks, are the puns themed? And the answer is yes. They must be themed on two things. Critical Role in general, and specifically Vox Machina. They must relate to the show and the characters they're in. Now, when I say those two criteria, it doesn't have to meet both of them. It has to be Critical Role themed or Vox Machina themed, which arguably is still Critical Role themed. But some people want to make that a differentiation, not within the hosts, but within other people that I've bounced the idea off of. So make it Critical Role themed, you're good. Make it Vox Machina themed, you're good. And remember,
make it good, you're good. Make it bad, you're good.
Yes. And remember, the deadline for that is midnight, or 11:59 and 59 seconds on Halloween. So, moving into the next announcement, The cast wanted to let everyone know about games that they were in that are coming out, are out, or going to be coming out soon. The games that they mentioned were Masquerada.
That looks really cool, actually.
It really does. But unfortunately, I don't know enough about it to talk about it.
It's going to be similar to Pillars of Eternity. I think it's made by the same company as Pillars of Eternity. I think. No, that doesn't sound right. But it is going to be similar to Pillars of Eternity. It's going to be an isometric Diablo-type RPG game.
So, there you go. And Scott Graham brings up a good question regarding our contest. Is there an entry limit? No, we are not.
Do your worst.
Yes. Do your worst. Keep in mind that there is only going to be one winner, though. So the more entries you guys put in, the more difficult it will be to win. But yes, so Masquerada, Gears of War 4, Telltale Games Batman,
Yes.
and Titanfall 2. Matthew Mercer is voicing the protagonist in the single-player campaign. And was it Liam or Taliesin that has some other voices that they could not disclose?
It was Liam who said that.
Liam. Okay.
Yeah, I missed the announcements, unfortunately, because my internet is potato, and I had to go run out to Taco Bell this week and go grab food before I watched.
So Matt and Liam are in Titanfall 2. Matt as the protagonist of the single-player campaign, and Liam as some unknown individual. Because this is a new episode, I am also pulling in a new comment highlight. This one coming from Nine-Tailed Sniper. Okay, so back in episode 49, Osesa's mate said something that was a nod to Ripley. 4 hours and 48 minutes in, he says, "Now that you are aware of these, others too may be drawn to search for them too." And Percy had Ripley's gun, so she was already listening. This event gave her the locations, so Matt hinted at it, but not enough that they would know to look at the gun. And that is deeply insightful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was something that I missed.
Akima's asking if there's a hashtag for the pun competition, Akiva. I think we had decided on one, and I can't remember what we had decided. Were we calling it Gilmore Pun?
Yes. I'm sorry, I should have said that. Use the hashtag Gilmore Pun. And that will make sure that we see that. So just to go over the contest we're running again, just to make sure we have all the information all at once. It will start on the 10th. After this video goes live on YouTube. It will run until 11:59 p.m. on October 31st, Central Time. On October 1st. We will announce the winner on November 12th. That will give us a week and a half to go over all of the puns that we're going to receive. So send us your puns using the hashtag Gilmore Pun, and I'll make sure that when this video goes up on YouTube, it will be on the screen. And that will alert us that you are submitting a pun for the contest. The winner will be announced on the 12th, as I said. Once we get that winner, we will be contacting you via direct message on Twitter. So make sure that you are following the official Gilmore _ gossip account on Twitter. And that will allow us to contact you directly. There is no limit to the number of entries you can put in, but there is only going to be one winner. So the more entries you put in, the harder it's going to be to win.
Although you're kind of stacking the deck in your favor if you have a lot of really good puns.
It depends on how good they are or how bad they are.
Yeah.
So
Your goal should be to make someone cry with the pun, whether it's laughter or disappointment.
yes.
That's the sign of a good pun.
If not crying, very deeply groaning and face palming, because I get that reaction a lot.
Yeah.
I'm used to that reaction, and if I don't get that reaction, I haven't done my job as an incorrigible punster.
So I use a lot of puns in my daily life, and if it's just a really deep groan, it's an okay pun. If they physically double over in pain because of the pun, that's a good pun.
Okay, so where would you rate a player picking up all of his materials and going, "I'm done, have a good night," and starting to walk away from the table?
That would be physical pain.
Okay, good. All right. I've
they
gotten
were-
that reaction from that player a couple times.
Excellent. So,
All right, we digress.
yes. So now we get into episode 70. And there's a lot to talk about in episode 70.
There sure is.
Yes. So Rashawn tries to ally with Vox Machina to get rid of Thordak. In doing so, obviously Vox Machina questions her motives. So she reveals some of her history. And before I get into that, one thing I want to say, there was some outrage in both the Geek and Sundry chat and a little bit in the Critters D&D chat about Vox Machina not getting Raishan's gender pronoun correct. I just want to remind you guys, Raishan was still primarily looking like Seeker Asum.
Okay, I understand that. Let me get on my soapbox for just a minute, and I'm going to try and make it brief. Everybody knows that I am transgender. So the mislabeling, the misgendering of pronouns is something that I still deal with on a day-to-day basis. Typically, when I correct people, no problem. They go with it, they run with it, we're good. And I know that this was not something that the cast was doing Well, okay, I take that back.
At first.
They were doing it intentionally.
At first they weren't, but when they realized that a major villain was upset by this, they were doing it intentionally. Not something that is not an act that we at Gilmore's Glorious Gossip condone in real life.
So my frustration with it was it's something that I deal with on a daily basis, and it felt like there was insensitivity there, even though I knew there wasn't. I saw what Vox Machina was doing. They were doing it to try and get the ire of Raishan. But it still was a little bit triggering.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to bring up. There are, in this case, there is two sides to it. One, it started out as an honest mistake. But two, they were intentionally trying to antagonize someone. And three, I'm going to throw in a third side here, they were doing so because they wanted an excuse to be able to end a threat now rather than later.
And I will say, I'm trying to find the exact quote here. We did get a written apology from Taliesin. I'm
Yes.
just going through his Twitter trying to find it.
If you
here,
if you can actually put the link in the Skype call.
I will do that right now, but I'll read it out here. He says, I was quietly mortified. I can't promise it won't happen again, but hopefully it will be ignored in game. He also says, because the original tweeter says, I love Critical Role, but I was very uncomfortable with the amount of misgendering in last night's episode. Taliesin replies and says, sleep deprivation while talking to a man pretending to be a dragon, pretending to be a man. For what it's worth, I was annoyed at me. So we didn't get an exact apology, but I'll put a link to this thread.
I mean, he's
in
at
the
least
Skype
sensitive
call.
to the issue, which, you know, again.
Yeah, he's acknowledged that it was a problem.
Yes. In real life, this is not something that anyone on the cast would do in real life. And also keep in mind, you know, as the comic book addict points out, Matt did flip back and forth between using the name Asum and using the name Raishan.
Raishan, yep.
So there was that confusion as well.
That's why I'm not upset, you know, at the cast. That's why I'm not upset. But still, hearing it was just the most minor amount of triggering for me. So it is what it is. It's happened. I can't take it back. They can't take it back. I'm moving on.
Yes. There we go. But that's what I wanted to address. This was not done maliciously. Please don't think that it was. I'm not apologizing for the cast. That's something they need to do for themselves. But at the same time, I just hope everyone understands where they were coming from. And Alexander Maxwell, you have earned a ban from this chat. So, thank you for that. Yes, I'm calling you out on the video. I'm not going to bear to repeat what you said. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Raishan reveals some of her history. She's from the south, the Riefenmist jungles, and prior to being put into the fire plane by Kima, Allura, and all of them, they had fought for days. Raishan had been weakened by a druid of Melora who had essentially soul-cursed Raishan with a disease.
And Matt said this happened 50 years ago, which has a lot of people speculating, was that druid that cursed Raishan Keyleth's mom?
That was my first thought.
I have to think so.
I have to think so as well.
But Keyleth's only in her 20s, 30s. So I think at one point, Keyleth actually mentioned that her mom went missing 22 years ago. So I don't know. I have to go back and find out for certain.
Did we get an exact day? Like, did he say exactly 50 years on this one? I only remember him saying decade. He did?
He did say 50 years.
Cool.
Because I rewatched the episode this morning with my daughter. And that was one of the things that I was listening for. Because there was that speculation, how long ago was this Keyleth's mom, etc., etc. So I was listening specifically for that.
So it's probably not.
Yeah, it's probably not. But here's the thing about druids, that druids go into the Feywild. And as John O'Brien just questioned Feywild time travel, it is possible.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. I think this is a Carl Sagan quote. I could be wrong. Nothing is impossible, only highly improbable or unlikely.
Yes.
Yep.
So, that's... I can't say... I am 99.99% certain. I cannot say 100, but I'm 99.99% certain that it was not Keyleth's mom. Maybe Keyleth's grandmother.
It would be
I
cool,
think
though.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think it's possible that even if it's not Keyleth's mother, there's going to be some sort of connection to Keyleth's journey, to the Ashari, to something like that, to kind of tie the story together even more.
Tommy D in the chat questions, didn't Kiki say this druid is worshipped by some druids, or am I confusing her? I had to rewatch the scene 3 different times, but Matt does say a druid of Melora, not the druid Melora.
Yeah.
And Melora is the god that if a druid worships a god, Melora is most likely going to be that particular goddess. But
And Leonardo also brings up a good point. The fact that the druid was a follower of Melora and Keyleth was raised without religious influences, I believe it's not the case. It's another good point.
Well,
yeah.
Again, Keyleth mentioned that her mom disappeared when she was really young. So if her mother was religious but her father wasn't, probably wasn't... The religion side of it might not have been reinforced strongly enough before her mom's disappearance. But again, that's me playing devil's advocate. And
that's us gossiping, which is what we do.
Yes. So
I am very interested to see what Matt does with this. He's got some sort of plan. Knowing Matt, he's always got a plan. So yeah, I'm interested to see where this goes.
Agreed. Almost said it.
That's gonna be the new word.
It probably is. It probably is.
It's only one syllable off.
Indeed. So, Thordak, seeing that Raishan was cursed with this disease, said that he has seen this before and knows how to cure it. And if Raishan gives him her subservience, he will give her the cure. Since then, he went quiet. It turns out that Kima and Alora's team knocked his ass into the fire plane, and Raishan went to get him out. But...
And she was quite passionate about all of this.
Yes.
I did the planning. I did this. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. She was hot. She was hot.
Draconic pride at its best.
Yep.
But even since then, even after Thordak got Tal'Dorei, in essence, he has refused to give the cure. Which brings Raishan to Vox Machina.
Mm-hmm.
She wants Vox Machina to kill Thordak and allow Raishan to summon his soul so that she can get the answers she needs to cure herself. However, Keyleth goes into badass mode and starts raging at Raishan.
Okay,
Yeah.
now please hear me out. I'm not trying to condemn Keyleth here.
No.
Some would call what she went into dumbass mode. Because at that point in time, she was putting all of Vox Machina in grave danger.
Putting all of Whitestone
All of
in grave danger.
Whitestone. Yeah.
That too.
But here's the thing about rage. This isn't anger. We all feel angry. Rage is a passion. It does not follow logic. And she, as my drill sergeant put it, she lost her damn mind.
Yeah. And we've had comments from Marisha in the past that she has come very close to multi-classing Keyleth into Barbarian because of
Really?
these moments.
Yes.
Yes, I believe it was at HavenCon. She talked about it, possibly, but she has discussed that she came very close to putting a couple of levels in Barbarian with Keyleth because of all this stuff. And we saw today, well, we saw in that episode, definitive rage. And
Okay.
it was, yeah.
Real quick, I'm going to say this because I got a rules clarification from Mike Merles, Chris Perkins, and Jeremy Crawford a couple weeks ago. One of my players at my Wednesday night game asked, is it possible for a druid multi-classed into Barbarian to enter a rage and then to wild shape? The answer was yes.
Sick!
The answer was
so
yes.
cool.
So, Raging Bear, Raging Earth Elemental, Raging... I don't know.
Raging
But,
fire
yeah.
elemental.
Yeah, it is a possible thing.
Oh, wow. That's hot.
Yeah, we've got some interesting comments in the chat. Steelajet says the Druidarian rage, and then Akuma Mika, Minxie rage, go Wildcats.
She's pulling it into High School Musical.
Yes.
Well played, Akuma, well played.
Now,
I'm hoping secretly that after this, Keyleth's next level up's going to be in Barbarian because, oh man.
Oh yeah. And that would also solve her problem getting into a relationship with Vax.
Because then she couldn't go timeless or ageless or whatever it is.
Correct.
Yeah, that's only level 15. It's not... Archdruid is the 20th level ability, and that's not...
I think it's like 18.
18.
Is it 15 or 18?
It's one of those ones. It's high, but it's not 20.
Well, the reason why I say it would solve her problem is because if you're going to multi-class, you're not going to only take one single level.
No.
You're probably going to take, 5 if you can. So...
At least 3. You want to take at least 3.
At the very least. So I'm looking up the timeless...
Yeah, I don't have my PHP in front of me, unfortunately.
And I don't have Fantasy Grounds open tonight.
It is 18th level that Timeless Body
18th.
comes in. So, yeah. So, even if she took 3 levels of Barbarian, there goes Timeless Body. And she and Vax then have the same life expectancy from there on. Technically, they do right now, but that's only because they could die tomorrow. So,
At this stage, everyone has the same life expectancy, and it's not expected.
so yes. So
yeah, she gets heated about, Raishon being the slayer of a lot of the Fire Ashari, and Keyleth very blatantly says, I'm not going to stand for that, Yeah, you're going to see Thordak dead. Or yes, Thordak will die. He will suffer a painful death, but you're not going to be around to see it.
And then Percy backs Keyleth up and calls out Raishan.
But Percy does it in the
In a
most
more-
Percy way possible.
He does it in a very courtly, tactful way. But even so, I was still sitting there going, Whitestone is dead.
Yeah, I was waiting for the roll initiative. Terrified.
There were a few times where the look on Matt's face was, say one more thing, and Whitestone is gone.
Yeah.
Right, and there was also a tweet from Matt, and I don't recall the exact number, but there were, I think, around 4 battle maps that he had ready to go that got put on the back burner.
Yeah, I think he said a Whitestone, 2 Abyss, 1 Fire Plane, and something else, I think it was.
I
if I
don't
can
know. I
find it.
completely missed that tweet.
Let me have a look on his Twitter.
So,
Here we go. A Whitestone Castle battle map, 2 Abyss maps, and a Fireplane map. All
okay.
put on the back burner due to clever player ingenuity.
Nice.
Yep.
So the conversation continues on, and the party sort of agrees. Eventually coming down with help us kill Voragol and we'll continue the talks. At that point they get some more information on Voragol. Really it's a rehashing of what we already know. And they try to force Rashawn to fight Voragol. At best, Rashawn is willing to do some sideline stuff, casting from the back.
Yep, support tank.
Yes. And they get a little more info on Rashawn's curse. Not much, because as we've already covered, it's a soul curse, and it's pretty rare in Matt's world. In fact, it's not even in the player's handbook or DMG, as far as I'm aware. So this is something that's unique to Matt's universe. Scanlan suggests that Raishan kill Voragol without Vox Machina, and Raishan just flatly refuses to do it alone. In an effort to calm Keyleth down, Vax brings up in front of Raishan, the only thing we're debating here is what order to kill them in. And it's about that time that Raishan reveals that Thordak is, just by the sheer fact that he's sitting on top of the Cloudtop District, he is summoning a volcano under Iman. The gem is apparently driving him insane, but also giving him incredible power, and is trying to pull more power to itself, more fire energy to itself. So that's troubling. But eventually, the party seems to agree to the terms of help us kill Voragol, we'll continue the discussion. And so they part ways, Rashawn going her way, the party going their way. And the party goes down to the real war room, which is next to the Marble of Doom. And they discuss Raishan. And they start developing a plan for the attack. Which I think is brilliant, by the way.
An amazing plan.
If it works.
It could all go terribly wrong, but it's amazing.
All they really need is the first step to go right,
Yes.
and then everything else will sort of fall into place one way or another. But the plan is to use the gate scroll to pull the creature holding the Spire of Conflux vestige into their plane and have it fight Voragol. The creature is a Goristro named Yenk. Y-E-N-K.
And if those of you, if you have not been able to look up what a Garistro is yet, think a Minotaur-looking thing, except a little bit more exaggerated.
It very much is a demon Minotaur. It even lives in mazes down in the abyss in order to hunt down souls that get trapped in there.
Yeah, I think Minotaurs answer to this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
Minotaurs worship these things as gods. So the plan is to summon the creature and let Voragol fight the Garistro, and then Vox Machina sweeps in to mop up the winner, and then turn to kill Rashan. They don't really know much about Garistros, so they decide to do some research before they actually get into the hows and whys. And so as the party splits up to go do their various researches, we have a Vaxlith moment where Vax and Keyleth are on their way to the Raven Queen's temple, and Vax gives her the Displacer Cloak, vowing to keep her alive to help lead her people and live 1,000 years. Which, in the actual temple, the thought kind of makes Keyleth queasy.
yeah.
Grog and Scanlan head off to go talk to Keeper Yenin. And Percy and Vexalia go to the library. So they're in the library, they're searching through the books. Percy gets a nat 20, which normally would put him at 24 for his investigation, but because he's at -3, because he slept last night, he's down to a 21. Vex gets a 10. And Percy finds a book on the Betrayer Gods from before the last divergence. I guess that's what the war was called. And in the book, there is a description and a sketch of a Garistro, along with some other abyssal fiends as well. And after they find this, there is an awkward Persalia moment, and I'm facepalming at it. The hard part has already been done, sort of.
Sort of. At this stage, I think it's just the actors teasing us.
Yes.
Honestly.
It
They
really
know
is.
what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, in front of the entire party, Vexalia has told Percy, "I love you." Percy couldn't hear her at the time. But it's like, seriously, stop teasing us and just, move on with it.
Make out already.
I'm afraid
Whatever.
that Pike is going to go monster, though.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I
it'll
don't
be
think
interesting.
I don't think she's gonna go monster so much as become reclusive. Slip
Yeah.
back into the, well, that was one chance for happiness. I'm going to leave Vox Machina and go somewhere else to find my happiness. Probably after the dragons, but I could see that happen. John O'Brien says, Percy says he didn't hear her.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing. When there's a resurrection going on, the soul is not in the body. So, although emotions can bleed through to entice the soul back, the actual words and phrasing those aren't going to make it into the memory, into the soul knowing what goes on. So yes, Percy's soul knows that Vex loves him, but doesn't necessarily know that it's a romantic love. Just knows that there is a love there. And it could just be friendship, for all he knows.
Could be. And especially with as aloof as Vex tends to be.
Yes. That and Percy's belief that he's not good enough to be loved. But in the end, I have to agree with Steela Jet, who says, seriously, Laura and Taliesin just like messing with us, so there's more fan fiction.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yes. So at which point we switch over to Groglin. Grog and Scanlan go into...
My boys.
Oh God, these two. They go into the temple where...
Poor Keeper Yenin.
Yes. Where Yenin is cleaning up, and they straight up interrogate him.
Oh, wow. Just... Yep.
Like, I sort of understand it because, you know, they wanted to make sure that, you know, between the Rakshasa, Hodis, and Raishan, they're not 100% certain who's who anymore. So, you know, they pat down to make sure there's no illusion going on, and then go into... they try to go into good cop, bad cop type thing, with Sam actually mentioning, you know, good Grog, bad gnome, or bad Grog, good gnome, rather.
Mm-hmm.
But just so inept with it. Yenin reveals that he knows, you know, next to nothing about Garistros. And then Grog and Scanlan guilt Yenin into running back and searching for anything he can find. And he can't, and he's panicky. And then Grog starts feeling guilty and tries to fix it. It's just...
By saying that he's well respected in the community. Of all the people whose names get thrown around here most often, yours is frequently at the top of the list.
Top 5 in Whitestone.
Oh, I tell you, those two just... If you need comedy...
They bring out the worst in each other is
yes.
the best part of it.
Oh, yes. If you ever need comedy, those are the two to look for in it.
Yeah.
So after they leave, we switch over to Vax, who is in the temple to the Raven Queen and is praying. And of course, about the only thing that they get is what you need, you got on your path to the Sphinx. Which confuses them because they've seen 2 Sphinxes. And
I think...
Go ahead.
I think it's literally just, hey, you know the Slayer's take? They probably know about demon-y abyssal fiend things. You could probably just ask them.
It's very
I
possible,
think
and
that's what it is.
that thought did occur to me. Kalia?
I've been thinking about this long and hard since Thursday night, and I haven't really come up with much. I think that was Matt's way of saying, trust yourselves, go with it. Because, the Raven Queen also says some of your friends have already found out secrets.
I think that portion of
telling,
it... Go ahead.
I mean, which is telling Vax, you're here asking me questions, and I understand that you are, but some of your friends have already been resourceful, and they've already found the answers to some of the things that you're seeking.
I think that was a reference more to Vex and Percy. Myself. As Race Young says, I think they overthought it.
Parties frequently do, though.
Oh, yes.
That's the player character. That's the player's jobs to overthink every single thing you put in front of them as a DM.
Yes.
Guys, you have the key.
Yes.
So, the question got tossed around, why are gods so vague? And as the DM, I'm here to answer this question for you.
Mm-hmm.
The definitive, final answer on why gods are always so vague is because that's how they help you grow. By letting you figure things out.
What would be the point if I, as a DM, just gave my players all the answers? It's the same thing with a god giving their followers all the answers. What's the point?
Teach a man to fish versus catch a fish.
Yes. Now, a lot of times for the characters with divine links, like the clerics, the paladins, or those with, what is the word I'm looking for? The warlocks.
Patrons.
Patrons, yes. For the characters with patrons, there are some players out there that feel like, oh, well, they get all the answers. No, I guarantee you the DM is being just as, vague and confusing to us through our patrons and gods as they are to the rest of the party.
So, point of clarity that happened on Thursday, I dropped a major knowledge bomb on one of my players, who is our pure warlock at this point. And she was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, major knowledge bomb. This is huge. And I'm sitting here in the back going, all right, so tell me what you just learned from this. And she gave it to me, and I go, when it finally happens, the signs will have been there from the very beginning. And she's like, oh shit. And I'm sitting here going, ha. You were playing right into my hand.
Yes.
So I am being just as cryptic. I am giving you hints and clues and stuff, but they are so minor, they are so subtle that until the end point happens, it's not going to click. Once that end point hits or the proper moment hits, click. Oh yeah.
So I mean the point I was trying to get to is, yes, we are, as players, that for me, like a cleric, warlock, am I getting different information? Yes. Is it helpful information? Only if...
Not always.
Only if I am intelligent enough to pick it apart in the proper way.
Or if you're in my game, you get told, basically by Cthulhu, hey, stop bothering me, go do your own thing.
Wait, you have somebody that is a follower of Cthulhu and hasn't been eaten yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Soon, maybe.
Well...
If he keeps bothering them.
Well, by the same token, maybe he is favored of Cthulhu, who will eat him first or last depending on his mood.
Basically.
So, that being said, the cast then goes on a break. When they come back, they're all headed back towards the castle, and before they get there, Scanlan stops Grog and gets a pistol and 15 rounds of ammo from him. Oh boy.
This can only go wrong, and I am so excited.
If we're lucky, when Scanlan loads it, he loaded it wrong and the ball just fell out into the holster / pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And when he fires it, it's just a flash. If we're not
Fingers crossed.
If we're not lucky, it explodes in his hand and
He now looks like Victor.
yes.
Mistakes!
I am so excited.
So as they're meeting up, Percy steps outside the castle to go ahead and find the others, and he runs into Grog and Scanlan, and Percy wants to get the guns to go ahead and start cleaning them and repairing them. And there is a hilarious trading scene going on between Grog and Percy.
Travis was brilliant in this moment. He was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, at one point...
Grog is not a smart man, but he is a wise man.
Yes.
And he recognized this situation for what it truly was.
At one point, Percy says, "Why don't we talk about this inside?" And Grog says, No. I'm in a position of power here. I don't want to lose it."
Yeah.
That, my friends, is wisdom.
Yes.
But then the intelligence kicks in, and Percy gives Grog a title in exchange for all of the guns. And Grog's title? The Grand Poobah de Doink of all of this and that.
Yep. Beautiful.
Oh. That would... You know what? I'm going to make one, and I'm going to mail it to the cast. I'm going to make sure I post a picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
So... Okay.
You know what? You should also say that we recognize your position here, Grog. At
Yes.
Gilmore's Glorious Gossip, we recognize your position and title.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm going to see if I can find actual parchment and age it slightly. Print it out on that, age it, send it to him. Let him, decide if he wants to frame it or not. But, okay, so, after after getting the guns, Percy takes them down to his workshop, starts cleaning them and inspecting them and repairing them. And then he gets to the Animus, which was Ripley's gun. Now, remember earlier how I said... Alright, this is just a reminder. We're not actually going to get into it. But remember earlier, Keyleth had cast Greater Restoration on this gun.
Yep.
But at this point, Matt hands the card over, and Travis delivers it to Taliesin. And Taliesin just gets engrossed in this card. And there is such shock and surprise. So, yeah, we haven't seen the card yet. I don't think we're going to.
Taliesin said something about that. Hang on. Back to his Twitter. 1 second. Where did he say that? Sorry. Hold, please. Here we go. Anima stats will be posted eventually, but for a few weeks I intend to indulge in the suspense. So.
Okay, so they're currently willfully being withheld rather than
Yes.
incidentally being withheld.
Because it's Taliesin, and he loves to watch us suffer.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying last episode. I think we're not going to see the stats until they are used for the first time.
At the very least.
At the very least.
So, either way, I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for these cards.
Yes.
So, as Percy is starting to clean everything, Grog wanders off and finds Vexalia and thanks her for flashing him in the fight with Kern, giving her a greater healing potion.
Superior
Healing potion, rather. Thank you. And actually, the cast brings up a good point. Just a reminder to all the females in our audience, October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Please get checked.
Yes. As soon as Travis brought this up as Grog, I'm like, it's National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This is a Save the Tatas promotion.
Either way, it was brilliantly done.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there were several pictures of a meme going around from a meme generator, and I don't have those pictures or the permission of the creators to use them, so I can't put them up. But go ahead and other critters will be able to point you into those directions. But after that, Vex goes off to find Vax, runs into Vax and Keyleth, and they start discussing what he learned from the Raven Queen, and everyone eventually makes their way down to Percy's workshop.
This became an improv game.
Yes.
Yes. And the drama student in me was just so thrilled by all of that. Like, I love any moment where they're theatre nerd shows, and this was one of them.
Eilish, did you see Travis give Sam the nod? Did you see him?
Yes.
Did you see Travis give Sam the point to, like, go in now?
Yeah. That was
the improv happening. Travis was pointing out this is the comedic timing moment. Go.
There's your cue, take it, and Sam Riegel, king of improv, was like, hello, I am here.
Yes.
The door was open. Thought I'd stop in.
So, as they're discussing things, they decide they want to bring Kima on board. They briefly debate the wisdom of telling Kima about Raishan, and then they get into discussing how to kill Raishan. And then Percy brings up to Vax that he wants to create a rifle company for Whitestone, and he wants to start it with Kaine. Which is great, because not only does this give Kaine something to do and let him know that he is trusted, but it gives him something to focus on outside of his darkness.
It's given him a purpose.
Yes.
Which is really important.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Vax goes off to get Kaine. Vex goes to find Zara regarding the dragon slaying arrow. And with all of the materials and all of that, Matt determines the cost to be about 30,000 gold pieces. According to the Dungeon Master's Guide, any type of slaying could incur a cost of anywhere from 5,000 to 50,000 gold pieces for a single item.
Yeah.
So, while yes, 30,000 is expensive, at least it wasn't 50,000.
Magical
but then we
items
hear...
are, yeah, very expensive.
Yes.
But then we hear Laura's reasoning for why she responded the way she did. She said, Mary said that they cost 5.
Now, I assume that she had meant 5,000,
Yes.
not
Yes.
5 total.
Not 5 total. No, I mean,
Five
we were
gold
talking
pieces.
thousands at that point. 1,000 scale had been already established
Yeah.
at the table.
But, you know, as I said, it can be anywhere from 5,000 to 50,000. So.
Oh, I know.
Well, no, this is me just reiterating that for the viewers.
Or others.
Yes. We love you, chat. We love you, viewers. We don't say that often enough. And I'm getting
no, we
sidetracked.
don't. But we wouldn't have a show without you.
Absolutely. You guys are the reason why we do this. So, you know, eventually, Kima and Allura arrive, and everyone, or Vex, at least, makes her way back down to the workshop. And Scanlan shows Allura the gate scroll, which excites Allura because, hey, this is a powerful spell that she can add to her spell book that she can use later. But she's not powerful enough to cast it now. Not reliably, anyway. And, of course, their plan kind of hinges on it, so they can't give it to her. And then, as she's getting ready to leave, Scanlan breaks the news of Tiberius to her.
As I saw someone in chat say, like a band-aid.
Quick, to the point, but in a way that conveyed, if you need to talk, we'll be here.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
It made me wonder, though, if she... Oh, I haven't ever killed a player. Characters, on the other hand, steal a jet. Characters are another matter entirely. But at the same time, it made me wonder whether Allura was... whether she still had feelings for Tiberius. You know, whether there was some kind of attraction there still, because it seemed like for a while there was.
Yeah.
And then he was a real jerk.
Yes. But as PJ Smith points out, you know, that only serves as a reminder that Pike still doesn't know.
Yeah.
I thought they told Pike that Tiberius had fallen.
No.
No. I think they're waiting for when they have Ashley there, so they can tell Ashley and get actual Pike's reaction, because, like, Matt does an amazing job of it, but, you know, she's Ashley's character.
Now, we know from Twitter that Ashley does watch Critical Role. So Ashley does know. But she's also an amazing actress. So she's not going to let that knowledge bleed into Pike.
No. She's going to break our hearts with it when she finds out.
Yes. So Allura takes her leave, and the party talks with Kima, and she gets excited to join the party. She's like, wait here, I'm going to go get dressed. And so she goes, throws on her armor, and gets ready to go. And when then Kima gets back, and Vex lets slip that Raishan is there.
Just
Now,
the
real
most
quick.
face palmy moment. I love it.
Real quick, when I was watching this with Harmony earlier today, my daughter, I related to her that Kima was like a 5-year-old in that moment. You know, they're like, hey, you want to go slay a dragon with us? She's like, dragon? Yeah. She goes running off. And then she comes running right back. And then she's like, so when are we going to go? And they're like, tomorrow. And I had a similar incident with Harmony where I was like, hey, we're going to go to Holiday World in a little bit. And at that point, she had no concept of little bit could be an hour from now. It could be 3 weeks from now. She went into the bathroom, ran, got changed, came back out and was like, all right, I'm ready. When are we going? I'm like, kiddo, it's like next week or sometime. You know. So unfortunately, I broke her heart in that moment, but I saw that same thing from Kima here. You know, she's like a 5-year-old ready to go.
That poor girl is going stir crazy in Whitestone.
With good reason.
Yes.
Yes, I love Kima so much.
Yes.
She is queen of my heart. Just the best.
And at this point, I had tweeted to Matt, you know, this is another one of his characters that I have essentially fallen in love with.
Mm-hmm. If Allura's not going to marry Kima, I am.
But yes, when Vex lets slip that Raishan is there, not specifically where, but that Raishan is going to be a part of all of this on their side, Kima gets pissed.
Rightfully so.
Agreed. But it does justify Percy a little bit. Because Percy had said that he was willing to not have Kima come along in order to maintain the secret, because when Kima found out that Raishan was quote-unquote nearby, she wanted to just dive in and kill Raishan immediately, regardless of where that battle took place.
Right.
So,
I mean, I think that's the dangerous thing that Vox Machina is running into right now. You know, they're trigger happy.
Yes.
They are trigger happy, and I think it was mentioned earlier by one of our viewers. I think it was the comic book addict that said it. You know, just because Raishan is weak, it doesn't mean that she's weak. She's still an ancient dragon.
yes. And as Raishan pointed out at the beginning of the episode, weak compared to herself from earlier in her lifespan. One thing I wanted to touch on, Matthew Kohler in the chat says, when did Pike leave? I know when Ashley left, but Pike was with them. They had asked her about the Fiend, referring to down in the war room. Pike went back to the church right after that. When they split up to do their research, Pike went back to the church. So she wasn't privy to the rest of the conversations. But yes, in reference to Kima being pissed off, Steelajet says, "Follower of Bahamut, surprise, surprise."
Well, yeah, there's that too.
Yeah.
You follow the Platinum Dragon, other chromatics need to die. I get it. I get it.
So, you know, they decide, you know, we're going to go tonight. They start making preparations, and Percy goes and tells Raishan what she needs to know about the plan. And informing Raishan that she is not going to be traveling with Vox Machina.
And Raishan protests, but it's going to take me 3 to 4 days to travel. and blah, blah, blah. Surely there's a faster way. It's an awful waste of magic and this and that and the other thing. And Percy calls her bluff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, come on. You're an ancient and powerful dragon. You've got to have a more convenient way to travel than that, surely.
I like that he was just honestly disappointed in her for lying to him. Because, as he had said earlier, like, it's very likely she didn't lie to them at all in that room. She just admitted, like, 90% of the truth. And then he's just like, I can't believe you actually lied to me. That's kind of sad.
And of course, he then follows up with, "You lie so
I think
rarely."
I'm starting to get some of your tells.
I think I'm starting to get some of your tells. Yes.
Mm.
And then he goes back outside the door and collapses with a nice deep breath and a small prayer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Calling her out like that does risk himself and Whitestone. So, but he has to put on that bravado. He has to be a dragon when talking to another dragon.
Well, if you've read any kind of sales book at all in the past, it will say there can be no negotiations if you're not willing to walk away.
Yes.
And that was his walking away point. We're sorry, you can't come with us through this travel. You'll have to find your own way. That just upped the bargain.
Not only that, but again, this entire "we will continue our talks" hinges on Raishan being at the battle. Now,
Right.
Percy does warn Raishan that there is going to be someone else there, so you're not going to be able to use the Asum visage.
Disguise.
Yeah, disguise. So, there is that at least. So, they all head towards the Sun Tree. Keyleth is already there and is talking to the Sun Tree, trying to get some more information, trying to expand her view, trying to use the ley lines to do so. But of course, she doesn't really get any new information. But that whole scene just turned weirdly sexual, and it was just wrong.
Very
Yeah, it did.
uncomfortable.
So, I mean, 12-year-old me was laughing his butt off, but 34-year-old me.
Poor small arrow as me was very uncomfortable that entire time.
Yeah, 34-year-old me was like, okay. But, again, this is their game.
It was very funny.
It was
lighthearted and
Yeah.
funny.
Nothing malicious about it. So,
Exactly.
Well, and Taliesin completely lost it during that.
yes.
You guys watch him? I mean, he was bright red for the entire time.
Yeah.
Yes. So Steel Legit says the Matthew McConaughey Sun Tree. I add in, as they said in the Critters D&D chat, Matthew McConaughey.
Yep, Matthew McConaughey. I was actually the one that said that.
It scrolled by so quickly for me that I didn't see who said it. So thank you.
Yep,
Thank you for that.
was
Buddy.
also
Matthew
have to-
McConaughey.
I'll have to say very quickly, one of the previous Sundry conversations I was watching in my living room, and my roommate who doesn't watch Critical Role was sitting there with us, and she said that she was on Matt Mercer's IMDb trying to work out where she had heard his voice before in that scene, and then she commented and said, I realized it's just because he sounded so much like Matthew McConaughey, I thought it was him. That's how good Matt is.
Yes.
Matt's a great impressionist.
Absolutely.
Stunning.
Felice Domnes, I hope I said that correctly, in the chat says, is this a subtle way of Matt flirting with Marisha during the game? That's entirely
Probably.
possible. Yeah.
From what I've seen of Matt and Marisha's relationship, it's very similar to the relationship I have with my girlfriend, and That's the sort of shit I would do. So it's probably what's going on there.
Well, and earlier in the episode when Keyleth went all barbarian, I'm like, that's the arguments happening.
Yes.
They don't happen in real life. They're happening in game.
Yeah.
So that's the catharsis for those.
Yes, and then the not quite so subtle flirting with the Sundry later is them. Yeah, everything's still cool.
Yeah.
So, looking at it in that light, it does make it a little less cringeworthy.
Yeah, it's a little less uncomfortable when you think of it like that.
So thank you for that. She rejoins the party, and they tree stride off to Draconia, and Matt has Percy roll a perception check, and he fails it. Now, at the end of the... Go ahead.
I was going to ask, are we going to take our guesses on what that was?
Yeah, I was going to bring up, at the end of the episode, Taliesin said he believes he knows what that perception check was for, even though Percy doesn't.
And Matt said you don't know.
Yes.
You don't know.
But Matt also said you don't know in the way that he knows that Taliesin knows, but he wants to keep that DM power. Like, you don't know.
Yes. So, my theory, Raishan was either invisible and tagged along, or polymorphed into like a spider or something small and tagged along that way.
Yeah.
And that's what I was
most
guessing
likely.
too. It's Raishan more than likely. And, Percy saying, I'm surprised that you can't find another method to travel. It really, boggles my mind and stuff.
And that was
she found another way.
Well, no, that's just it. She could have teleport. She could have done, any number of things on her own. Back when she released Thordak, for 4 years, she had convinced the Fire Ashari that she was a druid.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm certain she could have tree-strided herself.
Right.
But she just wanted to piss off the party because they were rude to her.
Yes, that was the point of it. You want to push me? I'm going to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Felice Domnes says, or shapeshift into Kima. The problem there is Kima has not left the party's sight.
Yeah.
There was someone with her at all times, even when Percy went up and told Rashawn what was going on. We know for a fact that Kima was with someone in the party. Confirmation of 2 different places. So Kima really is Kima. But they get there. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because it's pretty superfluous for this portion of it. And we are running long.
You have all of those wonderful tangents that we go off onto to thank for that.
Yes. And Felice Domnes also asked, was Rashawn once a human? No.
Nope.
Rashawn is a dragon. They tend to be born that way.
Baby, I was born this way.
I don't... outside of possibly a true polymorph, I really don't think there is a way to become a dragon. Unless you're a sorcerer with draconic origins.
Someone worked out the exact details there, and the most powerful dragon you can become with true polymorph at level 20 is a young blue, I think. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure someone worked it out somewhere.
Yeah, so...
There are, I think if you go Dragon Champion, which is back in the 3.x era, you could take Dragon Champion, which if you hit, I think it was a Prestige class, so I think if you hit all 10 levels of Prestige class, then you could, I think you could assume the form of a dragon.
Yes, but you didn't actually become a dragon.
You didn't actually become one, right.
Yeah. So, they get there, Scanlan mansions up, and because of the... well, let me backtrack a little bit. Scanlan tries to do a modify memory on Kima and fails. Kima smacks him with her warhammer.
Maul.
I love that woman.
Rather, thank
I
you.
love that woman so much.
And not only does she smack him, it's a natural 20.
Nat
Yes.
20, Tim.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Okay, hold on. I'm seeing something in... Oh, okay. In the chat, they are discussing the possibility of Greater Wish, or a wish spell turning a person into a dragon.
Well, of course a spell could, but...
Yeah, there's an argument to be made there.
There's so much
it would have
stuff you could do with a wish.
Yeah, it would have to be a Greater Wish, which I don't believe... let me look this up.
I don't think that's a 5th edition
I don't think that's a 5th edition thing, yeah.
They just have Wish, 9th level, that's it.
Yeah, which can only evoke essentially an 8th level spell or lower. So Wish really couldn't do that.
Unless it was a wish from Gary Gygax. Which, if you're still hanging on to a wish from Gary Gygax, you better spend it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wish itself is 9th level, yes. As John O'Brien points out, Wish is 9th level. But it evokes, like, if you try to wish something...
There is there's a paragraph after that, however, that does say you can use it for something else, but up to DM discretion, you suffer, like, damage from it because it exhausts you and a bunch of other things. I've had to look at this because one of my PCs has a wish spell available to them, so I've been studying wish to see how I can screw them over with it. Because I'm a DM.
Yes, I would expect no less from you.
So,
yep.
But, you know, they mansion up, and Scanlan and Vax and Keyleth go to talk to Tuma, and while they're gone, Percy attunes to the Animus. And here's what we've been getting at from way early in this episode. When Percy attunes to Animus, Matt describes Orthax being pushed out, essentially, and the names disappearing off of the barrels. So I have to ask, did Matt simply forget about last week's Greater Restoration?
Harmony and I had that discussion too, and that's, I think, what happened.
Yeah.
Unless Orthax is somehow still attached to that. You know, Greater Restoration freed Orthax from the gun at that point, freed Percy's soul at that point, but now Greater Restoration didn't do anything to disenchant the weapon itself. And so Orthax was able to reattach to it.
It's possible, but the thing
that's my speculation anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's the the explanation Matt would go with once he realizes that little hiccup. That is not a permission to remind Matt, by the way.
Yeah, no. I honestly think he just had so much going on. He forgot that happened and wanted to make sure that it's obviously an important thing that the names disappeared, and he just forgot that had already happened and just said it again. It happens as a DM.
Yes, it does. It happens with me quite frequently.
And I've had to ask the players of Desert Winds on certain weeks. So what was it that we did last week?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what happened there. So Vax and Scanlan, go invisible and fly down to the cave entrance where the Ravenites are. And they drop invisibility, have to leave their weapons behind, which everybody was screaming about. And I mean violently screaming about in both the Geek and Sundry. Yeah, it was in both the Geek and Sundry chat and the Critters D&D chat. They were all screaming, "No, no, don't you do it." They really didn't have much of a choice.
Yeah, I don't, I get why people were like, don't do it, because, 2 vestiges and some, powerful magic items, and so, you don't want to just leave those lying around, but also you don't want to die, so there's that.
So, but,
what I would have done is I would have put them down, and I would have stayed right where I was at, and I would have said, then you can bring her to us, because we're not leaving these right here.
So.
Harmony, though, she thought this was kind of interesting. She thought that Vax had just taken the daggers off of the belt and set the daggers down, and so when he walked towards Tuma, they blinked back to his belt. And I'm like, no, kiddo, he took off the entire belt.
Yeah.
And she went, oh,
yeah,
that wouldn't work then.
Yeah, but Liam actually made a point to mention when he goes back to pick it all up that he even took off Simon. His belt to snake thing.
The snake belt.
Yes. So, even though that would not have appeared to be a weapon, he was honorable about it.
Which is Vax all over, so, you know.
So they talk with Tuma. Tuma says that there's an arena nearby that would be the best place to set up. They go back. They see that their weapons are, in fact, still there. With Scanlan actually going so far as to kiss Mythcarver. And then the party goes back to the mansion to rest up for the next day, and that's where the episode ends. And we get to see a little bit of the between game discussions that they have, because they have a little bit of a talk to make sure that mechanics are known, and that sort of thing. And as Taliesin put it, they can actually talk this week because they're in the mansion and they have the time to do so. So that brings us to the end of the episode.
Good episode. I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Such a roller coaster, though.
I love green dragons, and I hope we see more of Raishon. I'm just, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure we'll see more of her. I don't
doubt that in the slightest. I'm just wondering if, not next episode, but the episode after is going to be the last time we'll see her.
I hope not. honestly, but I'm a selfish DM who's obsessed with, green dragons and characters like that. So I kind of hope they try and like properly ally with her and milk her for all she's worth before they kill her.
I don't think Keyleth's going to give them that opportunity, but I think Raishan also knows to GTFO as soon as possible.
Yes.
As soon as she can get her cure, she's going to GTFO and disappear.
As Race Young puts it, Matt implored that they handle this next week's session intelligently. I would like to add that he also asked Sam to make sure he did not roll low on that gate scroll.
Yeah, because aren't there mishaps that can happen with spell scrolls? I haven't looked into it too much myself, but I seem to remember there being a chance of bad.
So here's the mechanic. Since Sam is not actually a high enough arcane level caster to cast the spell, he has to roll with a DC, I think it's a base DC 10 plus the spell level.
Yep.
In order to cast it appropriately, correctly, etc.
Now, part of the mechanics discussion did bring up Keyleth can do the enhance ability spell to give him advantage. Plus,
and he can still use his inspiration.
Yes. So as long as he doesn't, let's say he, rolls. Let's say he rolls poorly. As long as he doesn't roll below a 7. Yeah, as long as he doesn't roll below a 7, then
he should be all right. But also, there are a lot of sides on that dice. So, and one of them has the number 1.
And his bardic inspiration is a D12, which could also come up a 1.
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sometimes you roll a 1 and you have a bless spell on you, and you roll a 1 and you have bardic inspiration and you roll a 1. Sometimes that happens.
Yep.
And we're not wishing that on you, Sam.
Not at all.
As I say at the end of every show, may all your hits be crits, and that goes into skill and ability checks and all that stuff. Everything. So we're not wishing that on you.
We're just scared of it happening.
We're talking about probability at this point.
Yes. But that will bring us to the end of this episode. Again, we are having no DM's Corner this week because of the length of the episode. So we're going to go ahead and head into our outro. Eilish, thank you so much for joining us and for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming back after the internet problems of last week.
That's all good. I live in Australia. I understand internet problems.
So before we head out, could you please remind the viewers where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at EADowns. That's EADOWNES. Yeah.
You don't want to plug your YouTube channel?
Oh, I should do that as well. Yes, I have one of those. Yes, I have a YouTube channel. The link, I believe, will be in the description for the video. Otherwise, you can probably find it through my Twitter. And I do, just DM and D&D videos, and there haven't been many lately, but I'm hoping to do some more very soon. Yes.
So, thank you so much. If you guys enjoyed this episode, click that like button and subscribe to catch us each and every week. Send in any of your D&D questions to us using the hashtag DM's Corner. If you want to submit art, please contact us via Twitter. You can use our official Twitter at Gilmore_gossip, or you can contact us directly. I am at Akiva David, AKIVADAPHYDD.
I'm at CosmicCandi, CosmicCandi.
Or you can catch our other host, Kat, who could not be here today, at Castiel Games, CASTI3L Games. We hope you enjoyed, and until next week, kick back, relax, and enjoy your games.
May all your hits be crits, and have a nat 20 day, guys.
You guys have a great night. Bye-bye.